Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. However you happen to be watching and or listening to this, I want to welcome you to a well-rested new episode of the Gaming Circle podcast. I am your host, Mr. K. Asante, TKO Asante on the Xboxes, the PlayStations, all the various socials that we may or may not find ourselves. And of course, I am joined by my man, the man who's been out here, one-man band, wanted to talk to the people, but of course, we were out for a week. Mr. Everborn Saga, how are you doing this morning, sir?
I am fantastic. I'm just actually sending an email at work because we did a deploy last night and the release manager was not CC'd in the checkout. And I'm seeing a bunch of emails of people looking for me.
So are we gonna have Everborn / Working Man this morning, or are
No,
you good?
I'm not working. This is just one of those people where you CC someone on a receipt email because this is Everborn shows the receipts.
Okay. This is Everborn cover your backside. This is what we're talking about here. I understand. But welcome everybody to the show.
Pause, but maybe that's not a pause. Maybe
no, you're covering your backside.
Yes,
it is something we all need to aspire to doing. You know, CO. What is it? CO. Well, we're not gonna use those non-PG-13 words this morning. But good morning, everybody. Welcome to all the folks that are in the chat. I already see folks are in here. Yes. The elephant in the room. The Mario elephant in the room is yes. We missed last week, and I don't know if anything happened last week that was even worth our conversation. What do you think, Everborn? Did you have to worry about anything? Didn't you just spend time like touching grass all week last weekend, just kind of hanging out because nothing really happened? What happened last weekend?
I mean, if by touching grass you mean staying up till 3 a.m. on Tuesday to see if a deal was gonna close, yeah, that's definitely what I was doing.
Okay.
Much grass.
I apologize now. It is what it is. I fight the good fight until I can't fight it anymore. And then me and my children and my family must take vacations. It just so happened that the vacation fell on a very auspicious weekend, which became a bit problematic. It is what it is. I apologize, right? But of course, them Twitter streets was hot. There was fire. Everybody was yelling my name. Where the heck is the show? I apologize. We are back this week. I will tell you, when Lena Khan was getting grilled, I was outside, literally outside in front of Congress, waiting for her to come out to give her a piece of my mind.
You guys should thank Mr. K. Asante because we at GCP sent him on a mission to Washington, and lo and behold,
yeah, that's right.
It paid off. So
there you go. we apologize that it took so long. It took a little bit of a cloak and dagger to get me there in order to. With my family, wife, the whole... No, it wasn't like that. So yes, had a great time in Washington, happened to be in DC for the trip. Of course, people were like, oh, you must be well relaxed and you had a great time. 7 children, the youngest of whom are 4, the oldest of whom are 10. And we were rolling everywhere.
Wait, you have 7 children?
No, I do not have 7 children.
You're getting busy out there.
I have 2 children, my daughter and my son, one of whom is 4 and the other is 6. My sister has triplet boys who are 9, and they brought a friend. So we had 7 kids, and we rolled everywhere. So needless to say, I need a vacation from my vacation, ladies and gentlemen. But it is what it is. We are not here to give you the parenting podcast that I'm sure you all are itching from us one day. You know, beat them kids now. They'll get better in the... No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. But...
#beat your kids. You heard it here first.
I'm just saying. So before we get into some of the games we've been playing, and I've been playing some games over the holiday, my vacation break, and I know you have too at Mr. Everborn Saga. We have some interesting conversations there. But let me first and foremost catch the first super chat of the day, and that of course always representing, always here, Mr. Joanna Dark with the $5, and he says, "Welcome back, gentlemen. Good to have my favorite Saturday morning show returning, along with the fantastic community. 90 days until Everborn and John Wolf's knees. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, much like your Saturday morning cartoons, we are here to regale you with some PG-13 slander. I appreciate you for being here, Mr. Joanna Dark. That's good. Keep the count alive because I need to clear space on my shelf for the knees. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be right there. We'll see how that goes. Oh, of course. And before we even get to it, Enigmatic Dreams is in here with a $2 super chat. Thank you. He says, "You two are my favorite podcast. Keep it up." Now, when you say that, you make a black man blush, and that's very hard to do because my favorite podcast, I would never think that somebody's favorite podcast is this, but it warms the heart to hear
Why
you say
not?
so, sir. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Give yourself the flowers, sir.
See,
Allow,
I hear my
accept
favorite
the
podcast, and
flowers.
I think the Xbox Two. I think the Iron Lords. But to count us, our little teeny tiny show among the greats, we appreciate that, man. That's absolutely excellent.
You gotta thoughts become things, so you gotta believe it. If you don't believe it, how are they gonna?
Oh,
believe
no,
it?
I
believe
it.
This is the number one.
I believe it. I'm just surprised that others believe it too. I think that's great.
Well, I'm not.
That's amazing.
Shout out to Enigmatic Dream.
Yeah, shout out to you. Sir. Absolutely. No, and not just them. You know, I see Mr. Oh, of course, Mr. Gerald Mack is in here. We were thinking of what we're talking in the background. Maybe we'll have him jump back on the show. It's been a while since we had you, good sir. When you're available to be on, let us know. We'll definitely have you back. You know, we see a bunch of folks in here. Sleepy Goblin is in here. We see the Black John is in here. You know, of course, the other slanderous one, Mr. John Wolf. He's also in here. Oh, come on now. Unnecessary, but highly appreciated. Mr. Gerald Mack with a $5.
Slow-mo's not here yet, so it's
he's not here. Don't worry.
Everybody's a lot of good takes so far because Slow-mo's not here. So
there you go. Mr. Gerald Mack with a $5 super chat. He says, "All hail the GCP. Shout out to the honey-do list. Damn it." Absolutely. And of course,
I see Pixelbit G.
Pixelbit G's in the chat. Salute to the gray beards of gaming, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, I will say that until that is TM by somebody, and I'm hoping that Gerald and or Pixel or the combination of the two do that, because I think that's a great
I think
name.
We need a gray beard emoji. Listen, here's the thing. We talked about this. I called you about this morning. I had a dream, right? Sir. And I want, because we got everybody here. I have this idea that I want to do some sort of GCP brackets tournament, right?
He caught the bug. He wants to bring it back to the old school. He wants you to put your quarters up, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, speak on it. What you got?
And so what I'm thinking for this thing, we don't know what the game will be yet, and it may be several games. Maybe we'll do it once a year, once a quarter, once a month, whatever. We don't know yet. But I am thinking we'll set up brackets. Everybody can sign up. And then we'll do individual face-offs, and then the winner of that face-off moves to the next level. You know how brackets work. So
he wants to play with, so assuming this is like, let's say this is like Mortal Kombat, you want to have like a tournament of tournaments to see who is GCP champ. That's what you want.
Yes, and you gotta request to be in it, and then we'll pair you up with people, and then you go. But the winner will get like a year of Game Pass or PlayStation Plus or whatever, right? That's the so there'll be an actual prize. And I think it's good.
Ladies and gentlemen, what do you think?
I'm seeing fanboy brackets. I want to do gaming brackets.
Okay. All right. Let's put a poll in the chat. Here. So we're doing GCP tournaments. Now, of course, well, you know, the game of choice, we can talk about that. We can decide that as a community later. But just the idea, GCP tournaments. Are y'all down? Yes? No? Is Everborn smoking something on a Saturday morning? I actually think it's an interesting idea. Now, it is an interesting idea coming from Mr. Botmaster himself, Mr. I don't like playing games with people, but it's a cool idea.
People are terrible.
But he's ready to take your knees in battle if you so choose. Okay, yes. So will you be part of this tournament?
I don't know. Maybe not. I probably won't make it past the first or second round because I'm terrible at Hey, your baby father. Okay, he was able to retract the message because I saw he sent a super chat twice, and that's not.
Oh no.
It was the same message.
If you ever have any of those issues, you should let us know. We can like work with you in the background to like retract your message or whatever. Yeah, we don't ever want you to send a message if you don't want to. It's all good. So okay.
I don't know. So it'll be some kind of leaderboard. It'll be some kind of something. I don't know. We're gonna put it together. But suggestions on what game you guys think the first one should be. It could be a fighting game. Could be sport. I'm definitely not playing for sport, so forget about that. But it could be Halo. Could be anything. Could be COD.
Okay.
Celebration.
Okay. Very cool. All right.
Know what you think.
So please, yes, shout out to you, Mr. Everborn Saga. What a great idea on a Saturday morning. Let's talk about it. GCP community, what do you think? Are y'all ready to play some games? Like maybe we'll do some fighting tournaments or something like that. We'll do it on Xbox Live, or we'll do it on wherever you guys want. Preferably a game that anybody can play from anywhere. Maybe use Game Pass as the backbone so more people have access to it. Let's talk about that. That should be very, very cool. That's an interesting idea. While we get some folks in the poll, some folks responding in the poll here.
Before you start that, Web Dave, I did see your message. I'm thinking the end of August, so that what will be done by then.
Oh,
he gets it. He understands.
I see what's going down. Oh, okay.
A perfect time to do.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Interesting. There's some cloak and dagger stuff going on in my chat. All right, cool. Mr. Your baby father in here with a $5 super chat. He said, "Good brothers, don't sleep on yourselves. You have beautiful minds, and the way you take what is this? The way your takes are articulate is very entertaining. Blessings." Oh, thank you so much. We appreciate it. It's just awesome to see people who.
I knew it. He's right. You just got to get on board. You got to believe it. Have you read the Secret, sir?
My wife keeps telling me to read The Secret. My wife keeps telling me to read The Secret.
Clearly, you didn't read it yet because you're talking like this.
Anyway, geez, slander Mr.
I know who the smart one in the house is.
Stop it. So, okay, clearly the chat, the vote I was putting up there is one-sided. We only have a few people voted already, but it's a definite yes, and we have suggestions in the chat. Before we move forward, and I'm going to move forward with the games we've been playing, and we're going to start talking about some of the new stuff. But I was saying this to Everborn in the background, and I'm going to say this to you guys right now. There has been too much that has happened since we last had this show, just way too much, right? And because of that, we will miss things. Maybe there's some topics you guys wanted us to touch on that we haven't had a chance to talk about. And yes, it is my fault. We had a vacation, and because of that, a lot was missed. Yep. So
perfect time to take a vacation.
Yeah, man. Yeah. The eye is on me. The black eye. It's mine. It is what it is. I get it. So for the purposes of this show, and to not make it a 4-hour epic, because we're not doing that. I got a lot of things to do today. I still have to unpack certain things because we've been on vacation, right? To make sure this does not turn into a ridiculous show.
No, I have a hard stop too. I don't think we can go past 1 or
yeah. We're not doing that. We're not doing that.
We have to go to a birthday party with the neighbors, and it's an all pink party.
Okay, that is a conversation for a different venue, but all right. Pink parties. All right, cool. Interesting.
Oh no, so, I got.
So you suited and booted in pink?
Pink pants, white shirt.
Okay. I thought he was going straight suited and booted with the pimp hat and everything. Damn.
No,
New York, man. You never know. Good morning, Mr. Xbox Expansion Pass. I see you out there, man. What's going on, sir? But my point is, if we miss anything, yes, Mr.
It might be
John
a Barbie
Wolf
party. I never thought about it.
Says it's a Barbie party. It might be a Barbie party.
By the way, on the real, we're going to the movies after we show our faces at that pink party.
Oh, okay. What you watching?
Well, so the girls I might go watch it Barbie.
Okay.
But I am going to see Oppenheimer. So I may be in Oppenheimer by myself because everybody thinks
have you seen and we're not gonna on the reel too far, but have you seen Mission Impossible yet?
I have seen Mission Impossible. I saw it in the theaters last week.
I have to go see that today. Have you seen Rise of the Beast, sir?
Yes, I bought that, watched it this week, and The Flash came out, so I watched the first half hour.
We really need to do it on the real, like some on the real stuff going on here, right? Like, come on, we really need to, because there's a lot of gaming and a lot of movie conversation to be had based on some of the stuff that's going on out there. Even Rise of the Beast alone, I think, is worthy of a conversation.
So the Batman's costume looks.
I have not.
I'm not spoiling anything.
Don't do it.
I'm not spoiling anything.
I have
I'm just saying the costume looks terrible.
I have it digitally on my machine. And I am not going to hear anything about it until I watch it today.
Okay.
Later today.
Batman's costume is terrible. That's not a spoiler.
It is
just terrible.
Yes. But okay.
And the CG is dog duty. Like,
stop priming the pump.
I think it was rendered in real time, like on an Xbox or a PS5.
On a Xbox.
Just terrible.
But the SSD is supposed to be so fast. The rendering doesn't matter. Rein it back in, sir.
My
Rein
God.
it back in.
It is
Rein it back in.
garbage. The
Stop.
CGI, and I'm only a half hour in. But anyway, go ahead.
So people, we're gonna need emojis. And like we're still in the middle of that. By the way, we're gonna need you guys to rein us in.
That's not a spoiler to say that the CGI.
We're gonna need.
Good. That's not a spoiler. I'm sorry.
We're gonna need y'all to rein us in because we need to stop the show by 1 o'clock, and at this rate, we're gonna be going. We're gonna be going for a long time. But okay, Reggie Lee with a 5 Canadian super chat. Salute to you, good sir. He says, shout out to Everborn for surviving Black Bond's absurdity with such amazing posture. Everborn Monk, hashtag free shoes, shout out to K Asante. Interesting. How about you speak on that a little bit there, Everborn Saga?
No, I went on Weapon Wheel podcast, and there were some very interesting takes. And it seems as though, and shout out to BG for having me. He tried his best to moderate well, but it seems as though people look at this is why I don't like to talk Game Pass numbers, because it's like a fool's errand. You're debating people who are barely getting arithmetic right, and we're talking like finance and calculus problems, and it just doesn't make sense, right? It's like if you keep going on, like somebody might throw poop at you. So it's that kind of thing.
Wow. I was on vacation. A lot happened. I need to watch this video. What happened?
Yeah, it was interesting.
It was wild.
But again, I am a firm believer though, right? And I was actually just having this conversation. I'm gonna be philosophical for like 30 seconds, if you will.
Wax poetic, sir. Go ahead.
I think it is very important to talk to people that you disagree with, right? I think it is very easy to have an idea, maybe be right about it, but then surround yourself with people you agree with, and then be moved off into a different direction. And it is always, I believe you should forge your ideas in the cauldron of debate. And so if you only hang out, if you mute everybody and you block everybody that you disagree with, I think you're doing yourself a disservice, because you can fall down a rabbit hole. That doesn't mean you need to entertain foolish arguments. So I'm not saying that, but I think it's very important that all of us at least listen to the people we disagree with, because sometimes broken clocks, right?
For sure. But while I wholeheartedly agree with you, right, I will let Timper21's comment here also ring true, because that also rings true. He says his grandfather has a saying, never argue with fools. They pull you down to their level and can beat you with experience.
That's true. That's true.
So there you go. I will definitely seek out this video and watch what was said, because I've heard this said multiple times that it was quite an experience.
I mean, the argument was that for Game Pass to succeed, they're gonna need big games like Resident Evil 4 and GTA and things like that. And the argument that was being posed was, there's no way that Microsoft is going to spend $400 million to put a game into Game Pass. And my argument was, they just spent $80 billion to do that.
Kind of, yeah.
But anyway, like this is the thing. Like, people, like, obviously, if you are a GTA and you're like GTA 6, if you are a Street Fighter, if you are a game that has an audience already, and you are a third party, and you feel like you'll make more sales wise, obviously you're not going to put it in the service. However, the calculation is different if it is a first party game.
True. Yeah.
Right. So when you spend $200 million and put it in a Game Pass on day one, that cost is amortized by all the platform effects that it will have. It's advertising. It brings people in. They will spend more money in the ecosystem. So it serves as that. Like, so for example, I could spend $200 million doing billboards and Super Bowls ads everywhere. hoping it will bring people to come and look at my stuff, or I could take some of that money and put it towards $100 million game, right? Which will serve the same effect, and it will be content for people to come back to, and it will keep people subscribed and spending more money. But again, if people are only looking at dollars and cents of why would you put Final Fantasy 16 in Game Pass because you'll sell more, you can't really have a conversation like that. But
you do realize where this is coming from. This is coming from people who on their platform this doesn't exist, and they've been fed a reason that they agree with / believe. So you coming with an ulterior narrative, while it makes sense on the other side, they can't see it because Papa Ryan says it doesn't exist, and it's not so.
No, but again, what I'm saying is it does not make sense for a third party publisher to put it,
so.
unless
That's
it's a
right.
free to play game,
Yeah.
or it is a game that does not have a fan base because it's like a new IP and you want to get a lot of eyeballs. There it makes sense, and we see that happening with things like Outriders and Wolong and the upcoming Capcom games.
But remember, like Jim Ryan and PlayStation is convincing the PlayStation fan base that it doesn't make sense even for something like God of War, which Xbox is saying no, it does make sense. That's the debate right there. And until Jim comes to the side of, hey, now here's our first party offerings in our subscription services, I don't think the people you're debating with will ever see your point. Now, when we do see that eventually happen, because you know that it will, eventually you will see some first party offering from Sony in their day and date, big flashy thing, and whatever it may be a multiplayer, but still day and date, then those people will be more amenable to your argument. Right now, since they don't see that, since the word from the greatness that is their side says, oh, that's a waste of money, they can't see your argument.
Sure, but you can't really say a game like GTA won't go in there when a game like COD is about to go in there. And Elder Scrolls 6
a game like GTA has been in there multiple times. Now, it may not
I'm
be
saying
in there
like a day one. They're talking about like a day one GTA 6. That's what the debate was. But again, if anyway, we're spending too much time on that. It was a dumb argument.
I think it's interesting that you interfaced with it. It was interesting enough that you did. So I will double back and watch that.
Yeah, I did it so you don't have to.
So you're all welcome. Have to. That's right. Yes, but you know what? Let us kick into some of the games we've been talking.
By the way, I do. I haven't asked him yet, but I want to get BG on here. I want to have. I want to have a conversation.
By and large, I agree with you. You know, we can have different thoughts on.
I don't even know if BG wants to come on the show. I'm just saying.
You're putting it out there. Why not? It's all good. Yeah, as long as you are a person who debates the merits of the case and not resort to dumb name calling and all of that. We are adults here, right? Well, we wear the gray beard moniker proudly. So as long as it doesn't get to yo mama jokes, we're fine. Come on, bring on the debate. Let's have that conversation. We're always welcoming here. So if he will come on, I am happy to have him on. It's all good. Absolutely.
Same thing for Colin.
Absolutely. As long as you want to have a constructive conversation and not resort to ridiculousness, we're here.
I'm definitely over here talking like I could get them on the phone and be like, all right, show up next week. I have no idea.
Hey man,
I'm just saying,
aren't you the one that says fake it? There you go. We have had the man Paris Lily join us on this air, so it's only the limit's the sky, baby. Let's go. It's all good. Let's keep going.
Hey, listen, there's no reason to avoid anybody unless you think you'd lose in a debate.
Exactly. And many of these people you're discussing, I would just have them on and tell them how fans I am of them and get their takes, and we could move forward from there. Whether I agree with all their takes or not, doesn't matter. I can still be fans of somebody who I don't necessarily agree with everything. So it is what it is. But let us move on and talk about some of the games we're playing. I know you've been playing some games, and you want to talk about this interesting service that just kind of happened, and I kind of caught the tail end of it, so I'm going to need you to kind of fill it in for me. But before we do,
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna. Sure. Yeah. I really wanted to bring up real quick before we finish, and let me bring this up here. I wanted to talk a bit about we've been I have been having this conversation with the community, as it were, for a little while, telling people to play it. I've been telling people you should play it, you should play it, you should play it, and now I'm telling people properly you should play it. I want to talk about Fist a little bit, and the I should say the visuals you're seeing right now is from the excellent folks at Xbox Era. I've been playing this on handheld, so I haven't recorded much footage. So I'm literally showing the review footage that they did, Xbox Era did, of this game when it came out. It's on Game Pass now. I would recommend you, one, watch their review, because their review got me to, shout out to Jesse Norris, friend of the show. His review got me to check it out. And secondly, I would also advocate that you play this game. Real quick, for those who aren't aware, those of us of a certain age, I keep bringing it up, gray beards, you remember Xbox Live Gold in a certain time frame when you really loved, and the games that would come out were one after another, what the kids now consider bangers. To me, back then, one of the biggest games that came out that still, until recently, had not been duplicated was Shadow Complex. For anyone who remembers, that is one small reason why I have a little bit of ire for games like Fortnite, because until Fortnite showed up, Epic was still out there achieving and being creative with Shadow Complex, which I thought was one of the best Metroidvanias ever made. It had your Nolan North stereotypical voiceover. It had your pulpy story that was very much B-movie of the 90s, right? But the gameplay is what elevated everything. It was so good. It turns you from a normal man into a Superman. It turns you into, that game turns you into basically a Spartan by the end of it, right? This game, although I would say the story is not the same, and I would say the story is a little lackluster in comparison, but the gameplay, the progression system, the moment-to-moment elements, all of the recipes of Shadow Complex are here. And I would bet, like I haven't gotten any interview information from the developers of this game, but I would bet they played a lot of Shadow Complex while making this game. It is literally the spiritual successor. Story's not as good, sure. It's a little goofy. You're a bunny with a huge fist on your back. But as the game goes on, you turn into Super Bunny. Like, you traverse the world in the biggest, broadest way, like just like Shadow Complex. I don't know if you've played this, Everborn. Have you played Shadow Complex before?
I have not played. Well, I don't remember playing Shadow Complex. Boom was telling me about this game yesterday, and
I convinced Boom to try it. I convinced Boom to try this game.
He couldn't stop. He couldn't shut up about it. Like,
bro,
Boom loves it.
It is so good. I was just floored.
Can I just say something real quick?
Please,
I have a
please.
real pet peeve with wall jumps in 2D platformers. The way, even in my game, I hate this fact, right? Like, if you're doing a wall jump, it should be from wall to wall. You shouldn't be able to jump and then come back to the same wall you jumped from.
Sure.
It feels weird and wrong.
Yeah, it feels against physics
in my game.
It feels against type.
I get
cheating,
right? You're climbing a wall, but you're using a wall jump. The wall jump is supposed to be bounce, bounce, bounce.
But I will tell you, okay? Games like
Shadow
Complex.
Does it too.
I know they do. Yes.
I don't know.
Games like Shadow Complex defined that formula, right? And I will tell you that even though I'm saying the story is not that great in this, it's enough to explain. It's enough to explain why you can do what you can do in this game, right? More than some. Like the story really lends, in this game anyway, the story really lends to why and how you can do what you can do. You get a super suit, you get all these extra features, and the thing that's awesome about this game is, like, I put 40 hours into it. Hour 39, I got a new weapon and a new power. Like, the whole game, you're getting new powers and abilities, more and more and more. And just when you finally figured out that your first move and you're like, okay, I can now do stuff, they give you something new. They just keep giving you new stuff, and it's always powerful, always super interesting. You and I are big fans of indie stuff like your Death's Door. I feel like had this come out and gotten the full Death's Door treatment, it would have gotten far more attention than it did. It came out on PlayStation 5 first, and I don't know, maybe the PlayStation 5 audience wasn't as interested in this when it first came out, but having played it now, I'm like, this deserved that Death's Door accolade treatment. It's very, very good. Like,
these
unusually
are strong
so.
words because Death's Door was 20
Yes.
of 21 almost
Bro,
like game of the
bro,
year. So
I will tell you, Shadow Complex is like a game of a generation. Like, for this type of game, it defined the genre, and this is like Shadow Complex. To me, it like saying this is like Shadow Complex is even more accolades throwing at it. It's more hyperbolic than saying this is like Death's Door in its quality and execution. And please, I'm out there. I'm not the only one that's played this. Folks that are in there. We right now have about 92 folks in the chat, 92 folks watching. Thank you guys so much for checking us out. If I'm wrong, please, answer the question. Let me know. Am I mistaken in my throwing the accolades at this game? I think that it has fallen victim to just 2022, 2023, and the onslaught of games that have been coming, because it came out in 2022 only on PlayStation, and now it's on Xbox, but it's in between your people talking about Starfield and all these other things. This game
is it on Game Pass?
It is. It is on Game Pass. It is on Game Pass.
I think I'm
PC,
gonna buy it.
Cloud.
Okay.
It's on console. It is so good, guys. It is just so good.
You know what it feels like to me?
What does it feel like?
It feels like a ROG Ally game.
And shout out to you, sir. I played and finished it on.
Oh, we need to talk about that. I said I got dirt on you, doggy. Oh, good.
Here we go.
Now, GCP family.
Oh yeah. Let's go.
Remember all of this talk Mr. K. Asante had about he doesn't owe me his knees because
he doesn't owe. He doesn't. No. It was day and date. It was day one. It did not happen day one.
Order it. The bet
eventually. No, sir.
Wait a minute. Sir.
Go ahead.
The bet was when the pre-orders go live, you would not be able to keep the same energy. And the pre-orders went live, and you ordered one for yourself. I had a little setup. You ordered two.
The idea was day and date it'd be in my house, and it wasn't.
You're changing the rules. That's
John
fine.
Wolf
That's
with a
fine that you
$5
wanna
super
change
chat.
the rules.
John Wolf with a $5 super chat saying, happy my GCP brothers are back this week. Gotta run, but I'll catch that on the replay. Have a great show. Thank you, Mr. John Wolf. We'll catch you on Monday.
We're gonna win that bet in October, baby.
If you want to catch myself and Mr. John Wolf regale the public with all matters of fun, come check us out on the Gamers Playground Monday nights, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on this very channel. But yes, continue slandering me, sir.
Go ahead. Go for Gerald Mack. Mack sent another super
Gerald
chat.
Mack with a $5 super chat saying, Shadow Complex is probably the best of the side scrollers I've ever played. The man has taste. He knows what he's talking about.
I gotta try it. As somebody who's making a side scroll, I gotta play that now.
It is required reading. Go ahead, continue, because I will tell you what happened with the ROG Ally.
So the bet was, and you can go back and look at the tweets when the pre-orders go live.
Well, you don't have to look at the tweets. Watch the video, because we had that bet on this show. Continue
until the pre-orders go live. That was the bet, right?
Yes. And the bet was
folded when the pre-orders went live.
Pre-orders go live. We pre-order, and I would have Mr. Everborn Saga said I would have one day and date, and I said no, I wouldn't.
I said you would pre-order it. That's fine, and because you didn't want to give the knees up, you canceled your pre-order, and then you went and wasted money on that AOK Zoe, whatever.
No, I did
not.
It's not a side project. Continue.
Wait a minute, and now. Ultimately, now that you think the dust has settled, you end up with a ROG Ally.
No, let me tell you what happened.
What did you call me and tell me? Wait a minute. What did you call and tell me about the interface that I had been telling you for months?
Yeah. Let me be clear. Well, because you're not to be believed, because you're a stan, so we don't believe anything you say. Okay. I will say, and I will say it on the air here. Having now played with this thing, right? Having now had some time, a lot of time with this thing. I bet you I've played this more than you have. Having played with this, right? Because I played all of, I'd say 60% of Fist on here. The other 60%, the other 40%, I played on the Zoe, the A1 Pro. But I'll get to why I didn't finish it on the A1 Pro in a minute. I will tell you, Everborn, that you are correct in that they are further along than I expected them to be, which I think is great. I think that's wonderful, right? But I still have a problem with it. And I like the game that I want to play on this. The reason why I ended up finishing Fist on this is because I couldn't finish Jedi Survivor on it. Why? Because I don't think anyone can finish Jedi Survivor on this thing. If you play it for 30 minutes, you'll get memory leaks, it'll crash, you'll have to do it again. And if you don't get to another save point before it does that, you'll play the same one over. I've played the same level on this game, on this system, 4 times. Why? Because eventually that 16 gigs of RAM doesn't cut it, right? Obviously AMD's also optimization with their drivers was still terrible, and eventually it crashes. It's happened multiple times.
Well,
they even updated, they even sent an update to Jedi Survivor yesterday. Didn't solve the problem. The Zoe has no such problem because it has 32 gigs, so it has overhead. There are still issues plaguing this thing. I'm sorry. Continue.
What was the, because you had the AOK Zoe, right?
What led me to get this?
There. You're working for Gabe, right? You're taking the Gabe bucks, right?
Bucks.
What?
Yes. What led me to get
exactly was it that
what
made
happened?
you get that? Because it was weird. You're like, oh, I'm on vacation.
Yes.
I've been playing on the ROG Ally. I'm like, Ninja, what?
Do you know what happened? Ninja, what? No. Let me tell you what happened. The one thing that the ROG Ally has over.
I need to know how you explain this to your wife. Is what I need to understand.
No. Oh,
after
please.
you just got
my wife actually backed me on that play, but that's neither here nor there. The one thing that
I thought you was about to talk Click. I was about to clip that.
Oh no,
send it to you guys in the group chat and then just eat popcorn.
I know. I know where the RFCs get approved, sir. Shut your mouth. I
thought you was about to talk hot. Like, I don't need nothing. This is
hell no. What you talking about? She has my YouTube channel, sir. Love you, baby. Anyway, so the one thing that the ROG Ally does that the Steam Deck also can't do, that this couldn't do, that literally what it all happened, like what led me to get this thing was, if you run into any issues, right? Except for this device, where you can find at a Best Buy. I bought this at a Baltimore Best Buy. Why? Because I ran into issues that were hardware related that could not be resolved quickly. And I needed to play my damn game.
You bought it on vacation. Wow. See, that's the beauty though. That's the power of being available in a store.
And this is where you are right.
Okay, good. As long as we acknowledge it. I'm good now. I'm fine.
Because let me tell you. Let me tell you. No, you cannot. You cannot have the knees because the knees had nothing to do with supportability.
Well earned, but it's fine.
Let me be clear.
It's fine. I hope you remember
this guy here, right? This guy plays Jedi Survivor better in every way than this guy. But this guy doesn't work. When it stopped working, I couldn't repair it, and I have to send it to China to get it repaired. And this is the issue, which means, hey, look, we're consumers here, baby. So if you give me 32 gigs of RAM and you give me a higher bandwidth and you give me an 8-inch screen and you give me a better battery life, yay to me. But if it breaks down and I can't quickly turn it around, then you got to go to Best Buy. And that's what happened. Make sense?
And I told you that would be the case.
This is pending repair. And when it is, but here's the point. When it is repaired, right? The only place I can play Jedi Survivor mobile is still this, because I've tried it on here and it still crashes every 15 minutes.
I tell you that device would break down. Didn't I tell you?
No. You got to stop that. You got to stop that. That's ridiculous.
Hold on. Did I say it or did I not say it?
No. Yeah, but just because you said it means nothing. That means absolutely nothing.
But it happened. But I was right.
It means nothing. It means nothing.
I know, but I was right.
It's what they call the Silicon Lottery. You either win some or you lose some. I lost the Silicon Lottery. It happens to drivers. It happens to hard drives. It happens to motherboards all the time. The difference is, if you are Best Buy backed, you have a quick way around it. If you're not Best Buy backed, you have to deal with the issues. But I will tell you still, as soon as this thing gets fixed, this becomes where I do retro games. Why? Because I want to be able to play that one AAA game that I love wherever I am. And I was hoping that it would be this guy, and it still can't do it. It's still, like, you don't have to take my word for it. If a Jedi Survivor, right? There are a lot of the Rogue Ally gang folks out there. Try it on the Rogue Ally. See how long it lasts. Even after the Ally recently released a driver update, even after the game itself was Jedi Survivor released an update recently, still 20 minutes tops, your game is dead. It crashes, goes to desktop, then you have to try it again. And if you didn't reach a new save point, you're playing the same one level over and over. I've done it 4 times already. This is why I'm like, screw this, because this is me. I don't have BS money that I can do whatever I want around, but ain't nobody got time for this money. That's what I do. So when I'm on vacation and I'm dealing with 7 children while going everywhere, when I want to play my Jedi Survivor, damn it, I want to play my freaking Jedi Survivor. And I had to break out extra funds to get this thing just to be able to do that. And ultimately, I couldn't do it. Ended up playing Fist instead. That was my vacation.
So we are just going to ignore the fact.
Okay. What are we going to ignore?
That I told you this.
Oh, stop it! No.
Wait a minute. Let me say it.
You gotta stop the ridiculousness. No, you say what I was gonna say. Look. You are doing to me what the proponents of the CMA are doing to you. Just because the end results are the same does not mean the math in the middle are the same, sir. Because you don't appreciate when they do that to you. Don't do that to me.
I feel
this
like
is what you're doing right now. No, it's not. It's not a reach.
I told you that it was a small company.
Just like
something goes wrong.
Just like all those other proponents told you that the UK is too big to be closed over on, and here you go. And you're sitting there eating that right now. So go ahead, give it to me. I'll eat it. Go ahead.
Well, pause. But
exactly.
I said to you, it is a small company.
Yes.
They do not have big distribution. They release these things through Kickstarters or whatever crowdfunding.
Hey now, be very careful. Be very careful how you slander Kickstarter, because somebody's gonna have a Kickstarter soon. Let's see.
Which is, and I bet you all my orders will be delivered and they'll work.
Hey. So the orders were delivered and they did work until they stopped. So
for a time.
Continue.
Books don't work that way. So anyway, the point is, I said when something goes wrong, it could, because you even said to me there was issues.
I acknowledge that. I acknowledge that. Yes.
And I said something's gonna go wrong.
I acknowledge that.
Fine. I think it's okay.
You should watch the show, because I acknowledge that. Hey, if I purchase this and something goes wrong, that'll be me having to deal with the pain of getting it repaired. I acknowowledge that.
Right.
I did.
And
that's what happened. And it is what it is. Now, and you won't admit is you won't just take your victory lap and say that you were right in the fact that, hey, supportable hardware, even though they're lackluster hardware, is better than better hardware that then has a harder time supporting. Hence the Rogue Ally. We could move forward. You were right. Yes. Even though the Ally has lackluster hardware, the battery is terrible. It is terrible. Software's good. Battery, gross. Really gross. And I see you're quiet because you're not talking about that. The battery is freaking gross.
I'm quiet because every time I try to make a point, you don't let me make it because you don't want to hear. You don't want to get this.
Tell me I'm wrong.
So I'm just
gonna
let you
wrong.
do what you got to do, and then you tell me when I can speak. Right? Because what you're doing is trying to control the debate and I'm controlling the narrative, baby. We wasn't talking about the battery. We was talking about me being right and me telling you this was a fly-by-night company and the hardware was going to fail on you.
Be clear.
And the hardware failed on you and you ended up having to buy a whole new device while you was
It's not a fly-by-night company. It's not a fly-by-night company.
In the beginning,
it's not a fly-by-night company. It's not, because they were here before and they're still here. It's just they're a company that doesn't have as many resources. So unlike an Asus that can get Best Buy to back it, they don't get someone to back them as Asus can. And when you have an issue, you have to send it into China. It is what it is. And I already said this in Jump.
I feel like we're glossing over that, but that's fine. But you had an issue, like I said you would.
I had an issue. Yeah, sure.
And now you got a Rogue Ally, and you're singing its praises. So we can move on.
No, not really. What I'm saying is the Rogue Ally still can't play Jedi Survivor, which pisses me off. Because it should be able to.
By the way, did you increase the memory that was assigned to the GPU? Because by default it's 4 gigs.
And now it's 8. Yes. You mean the
VRAM? It to 8.
The VRAM default is 8. Yes. And still, every 15-20 minutes, it will crash on you.
Like, no, but the default is not 8 though. The default
is 4. You can go into the background and you move, bro. Like on the Ally on the what do you call it, on the Steam Deck, you have to go into the BIOS to make that change. I've done that. All those changes are made, and still, every 15-20 minutes, that game will crash on you, and it'll show big screen. Your system has run out of VRAM, and then everything will just be sluggish until you reboot the thing. To this very day, it still happens on this thing, which is like annoying.
I think it's hilarious that you're blaming Asus and not EA for.
Well, no. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's only Asus's fault. I'm not, because EA. What did I say? Even after the latest update, it's still having that issue. Absolutely true, right? The reason why I'm giving Asus some smoke as well is because we all know that since the Asus released all 7000 series chips, they have not released a single driver update. Not one. Not one. And that's AMD smoke, not Asus smoke. Let's be clear. AMD has not released a single. When did this thing hit the market? They have not released a single driver update since then. You've gotten updates, but that's Asus being nice and keeping stuff quiet.
AMD has not released. They wouldn't do, but that's fine.
Which is also good for them. But still, at the end of the day, we need AMD drivers to solve the problem of something like this, which is Jedi Survivor's issues, right? Until they do, it's going to be smoke, and you're not going to be able to play this thing. Oh, it plays anything. No, it doesn't. That's my issue. But no, you're right. You know, this thing has far more supportability than I initially thought. I will take that smoke for sure, no doubt. And of course, the minute I speak of smoke, the Smoke Master joins the chat. Of course, I couldn't get away with it without this. Oh, of course, in the minute the Smoke Master joins my chat, I am not able to surface his super chat. Give me one moment. Let me find it.
I'll read it for everybody.
Was that you? Slow-mo. Was that you who sabotaged me?
Absolutely. I'm sabotaging Slow-mo's tweet. No, Slow-mo says Sonic has about as much chance outselling Mario as Link does beating Cloud, even after Everborn tried to rig the matchup like a shady promoter. He's calling me Don King. Listen, here's the thing, sir. Link would mop the floor with Cloud, right?
Oh boy.
Emo guts.
Oh
right?
boy!
As soon as I say Link v Cloud 1v1, you can't bring no summons. Everybody's like, but what about all of Cloud? Cloud? Because I know Cloud.
Have you noticed I haven't responded to any of that? Because I'm just sitting there reading the back and forth. Oh man!
I've never seen somebody who needed so many handicaps just to do a 1v1 fight. It's wild. You know, Link is about that life. Mm-hmm. You know Link has been through it. You know Link don't have an identity crisis. Well, he kind of does, because a lot of times he don't be remembered.
Okay, Everborn Saga. Talk to me about Antstream. Or is it Antstream? Or Antstream?
I really wanted to talk about how Cloud would get destroyed by Link, but we can talk about Antstream.
No, because you have already destroyed many narratives on them Twitter streets with that exact on that topic, and I will leave it there. I want to hear you tell me.
Said Link would win because Cloud would have to wait for his turn. But anyway,
that's good.
And they're mad that I said Link gets the Buster the Master Sword, and Cloud only gets the Buster Sword, even though he could use materia and all of that. But I'm like, the Master Sword breaks.
The Master Sword will break 5 minutes into the battle, so whatever.
So that's leveling these things. Anyway,
tell me about Antstream, bro. Tell me. So real quick. I did not catch this. I know you are. I did not have this. On my radar. Mr. Boomstick, shout out to him. He put this on my radar, and I thought, wow, this is amazing, right? And then I spoke with you, and you were like super excited, and then you got into it and got disappointed. When I saw the ad for it, I was like, yo, this is amazing. I have not put my money down. I was planning on buying the lifetime license so I can access this awesome thing on my Xbox and access it on my ROG Ally and access it on my A1 Pro, access my PC, wherever I want. I have my retro games. No need for ROM management. Go. Tell me why this is the greatest thing ever, Mr. Everborn Saga.
Okay, so I heard about this, and the first thing I did was shut up and take my money. I did not read anymore. I just went on the Xbox. I saw you had a lifetime offer, because this is a subscription service. This is an MGS if you're following along with the ABK stuff. It's a multi-game subscription service.
For $80.
$80 and you
Lifetime.
don't forever, right? So you could pay $4 a month, you could pay $40 a year, or $80 for lifetime. How they make money off that, I didn't care.
Lord knows.
They were doing it. And
Yeah.
for me, right, like if you got a Steam Deck and you got a ROG Ally like myself, you know a lot of the lifeblood of that stuff are these retro games, but then you got to go and find ROMs. And then you got to go to shady places.
Okay. No. The words of Mr. Everborn Saga do not represent GCP as a whole, because most of us have like cartridges right here that we dump, and as such, we can get our ROMs from our own cartridge and our own CDs, sir. Thank you.
Wink.
Continue.
Wink.
There is
the thing is,
there will be no Jack Sparrow talk, sir. No Jack Sparrow talk.
Because I don't want to do the Jack Sparrow talk, I was happy to pay that money.
Okay.
Right? Have these things in one place. So I sign up for it.
And real quick, while he's talking about it, we're talking about 1,300 retro games like your Mortal Kombat, your Pac-Man, your Asteroids, your Earthworm Jim's, you know, all the various
Fury,
Indiana Jones,
right?
Fatal Fury, Star Wars of
Final
old,
Fight,
all that stuff. Continue. Yes.
So again, I signed up and I'm like, cool. I picked up the ROG Ally. I said, what happened? What's
no? I heard a little choppiness.
Okay.
But you're back to normal now. Go ahead.
So I picked up the ROG Ally and I'm like, all right, let me go and sign in. Nope. When you first of all, you don't download these games, right? It's streaming only, right? So you have to consider that. But fine, I'm fine because it's a 2D game, and if you've used xCloud or any of these things, 2D games are actually pretty good.
And oh, by the way, did you see this part of the announcement real quick? Maybe the reason why it's only on Xbox right now. It is probably Azure Cloud Services being leveraged for this. Interesting. Continue. Nice. Yeah.
So then I say because I knew the place that I would play this most would be on the Steam Deck or the ROG Ally. So I went to try to download it. I download it and I'm like, all right, how do I sign in with my Xbox credentials? You can't. It is a completely different login experience when you're on the PC. So your account from Xbox does not translate to the PC, which means you can't use it on your ROG Ally, and it doesn't support streaming, right? So you can't really use it where you want to use it, and it's a cloud service, so you would think your account would translate. But now here's the thing. You might have said, well, dummy, you should have bought it on the PC in the first place. Here's the problem on PC. They do not offer the lifetime membership. You can only pay $4 a month or $40 a year, but you cannot get the lifetime license like when you sign up on the Xbox. So now I spent that $80. I have the lifetime license, but again, I can only use that on my Xbox, which makes it almost pointless to me because I want to play these games on a handheld.
And then they can one day go, well, the series consoles have been depreciated. We're now on the Xbox Y or whatever. We can let in the fine print somewhere it says this lifetime license lasts for as long as the generation lasts. How long is that? For as long as Microsoft allows it to be lasting, right? Whereas on the PC side, if you because I'm sure, tell me if I'm wrong here, but on the PC side, this thing is being purchased through Steam, right? Am I wrong?
No, it's not through Steam. You can download it directly. Or it's in the Epic Game Store.
Oh, it's an Epic Game Store. Okay. But in that instance, problem there is, I understand why they wouldn't let you have a lifetime subscription, because in 2030, 2050, 2080, you are expected to still be able to access it, just like you can still play all your 16-bit games that you bought on your. You can play Flight Sim 1979 right now on your PC today. Today, you can do that, right? And if they allow a lifetime license, that might be what they think people will still assume, not have to ever pay again, while still being able to play everything that they offer. I get it, but from a consumer perspective, that's a kind of a no-go. What do you think?
Well, so I mean, whatever is in the agreement or whatever, the EULA is what the EULA is. So it's not you have to worry about people coming back. My issue is you're telling me this is a subscription service. It's a cloud service. The idea that I have to make a completely different account
Yep.
on PC than I do on Xbox is ridiculous, because what if I want to pick up where I left off? It's
Yep.
not like you're downloading these games. It's in the cloud.
See, what they failed to understand, what they failed to take into account is that even your normal consumers, and you are not a normal consumer, you know what the cloud is all about. But even the normal consumers have been trained enough to expect certain things when you're talking about cloud computing, equaling like achievements, progression systems, saves, all that is expected to just kind of continue wherever you happen to interface with it. And now, after people have learned that that is a thing that everybody can do because you're interfacing with the cloud, only to tell me that, oh yeah, no, this Netflix is special because you're accessing it on your console versus the cloud.
So
that's a little bit.
You heard an interview that they were working on linking the account.
Linking the accounts. Okay.
Good. If that's the case, that's
then we're in there. Then I'm in
and
there.
By the way, we need to be very clear. This is a startup.
Yeah. Small company.
So we can allow for that.
Yeah,
and
this is not Microsoft level of resources. Absolutely. Yeah.
So I do think, listen, the idea I think is fantastic. The idea that there is a place where a lot of these arcade games that just have no platform that can make them retro, or there's no business case to do that. The idea that they can all go here, maybe pay the people who, whether it's public domain stuff, it'll go there free, or if it's stuff that people made and they can get paid licensing fees based on usage or whatever. Yep. It's like having a digital arcade, and I think that's fantastic. I love any model where you can sort of keep these games alive for the people that want them. I do not mind paying for it because, again, it's ain't nobody got time for that money. I don't need to, get these things in other ways.
This is the iTunes for ROMs, right? Before iTunes came around, MP3s were being rampant. We're running rampant in the Jack Sparrow world. iTunes kind of quelled that. They're hoping this will quell that for ROMs, which it could potentially, if it's cost effective.
I'm not a huge Steve Jobs fan, but he was right. You provide people an easy way to pay for something. Easy
incentive, yeah.
They will do it, right? Yeah. Because again, I have zero problem paying for this stuff because I'll actually play it. This was the era I came up in. So they just need to make it painful.
There's some gray beards in the chat. Tim per 21 saying Winamp days. You know what I'm talking about. That's what's up. Good stuff. Yes.
So again, happy to pay for it. They need to fix this stuff.
Yep.
And I would sing. You would hear me talk about this service every week. But
there is a plus side to the
account, and I need to. Go ahead.
No. I hear you on that, and there's an interesting plus side to this because when you were talking to me about this, I started doing a little light research, and it brought up some very interesting sides of this to this for me. Isn't it interesting how and we won't really talk about this because we have too much stuff going on right now anyway. But I'm sure people have heard that.
Shout out to Sycamore.
Oh, shout out to Sycamore. Welcome, sir. Welcome. I'm sure people have heard that they've brought retail cloud stream, well, not cloud streaming, but retail emulation back to Xbox, right? Remember we heard a couple weeks ago that they stopped that. They found a new way of getting around that, and now you can do retail back to your regular retail and still be able to emulate games on the Xbox. So retail emulation is back on there, and now you have this thing. And the reason why I thought this was super interesting is because we'll move to our next story, which is also related to Antstream. I really need to they need to solidify that name, Antstream. This is kind of being used as a method.
Words don't really go together.
Yeah, right. Antstream. They need to fix that. They need to fix that. This is a method in basically getting PlayStation 1 games that were never officially capable or able to be played on any non-PlayStation platform to basically show up on PlayStation. They're planning on bringing post-launch. They're planning on bringing a lot more PlayStation 1 games to Xbox via this service. Super interesting, no? I feel like there is a world where this thing can thrive, provided that they get the small little issues that you're describing here worked out. What do you think?
No, I think the idea is great, and
Yeah.
again,
They said your name there, Mega Drive and Genesis. I mean, they're planning on post-launch a lot more coming now, right? Super interesting.
listen, happy to pay them. They just need to fix these things, and I will sing the praises for the rooftop. I'm one of those people. I pay for I pay for Crunchyroll. That's a very
Mm-hmm.
targeted subscription service. I
Yes,
got no
sir.
problem paying for this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have a Paramount Plus subscription, right? Uh, doesn't matter to me. I'm happy to do it, but make it simple if you're gonna ask for people's money.
Sure.
And I can't recommend it right now unless you
Mm,
only want to play on Xbox. And I
sure.
would love to recommend this thing because the idea is brilliant.
Excellent.
So
No, hey,
imagine all the arcade games you grew up with. Imagine they're available for you in one place. I don't know why it has to be streaming, right?
yeah.
Because imagine just paying for this service and it's these ROMs right here, one place,
Well,
and you don't
but
got to think about it.
see, the thing is, the problem I suspect is either you spend a lot of your time working on the cloud streaming and getting the cloud streaming aspect of it that would then solidify it so as your subscription service, or you instead focus on the local rendering, but then you have to work on encryption, making sure nobody can just rip your ROMs out, and then you don't turn into a purveyor of ROMs, right? You don't turn into how people get their ROM fixes by virtue of you having faulty security. Like, as a guy who's dealt with ROMs a bunch, like, this presents its own issues. That's why cloud streaming is easier, because then you're not continuing the scourge of piracy by putting ROMs on people's machines that they themselves can then hack out of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but people release
That
games
has
every day.
happened a lot. That has happened
It
a lot in
does,
the.
but
I have a feeling that, being that this is a very wishy-washy licensing place that they find themselves, right? A lot of companies could push back if they wanted to, but because their method of getting this done most likely is as streamlined and as mainstream as possible, that some of these license holders, even though they could make hay, have not, because of the method, right? But if they heard that all of a sudden it's local rendering, and some people are smart enough to rip out the ROMs, and now you have your own local ROMs of their games, that might cause some static. You know what I mean? I have a feeling there's more to it than just this is how they did it. It's probably the easiest way, and it probably, from a security perspective, also an ideal method.
I mean, sure. And again, it being in the cloud is not
Yeah.
an issue because I don't
Yeah,
think latency
these are
is a problem.
old games. The latency is a non-concern, like non-concern. You know, you could even do like crazy tournaments and things, and latency would still not be a
No,
concern.
no, no. It has like challenges and tournaments and
Yeah.
things like that. There's a
Latency
whole
is
friends
only
list
a
and season
concern.
thing.
Latency is only a
Um,
concern for a game like Cyberpunk, where you're pushing the bounds of technology and resource usage, right? These things are like a meg, 2 megs, 5 megs max. The whole game could like stream in a second via the cloud to your device. So, I think that, like, at the base of it, using the cloud as a backbone to do this isn't a problem, because even on your old like 5G, old 3G connection, this should still be successful,
well,
because of
to
the
be
resource
fair,
constraints are so
though,
low.
if you're thinking about how small these old games are,
Hmm.
can't they just send the whole game to you in memory and you're not
Basically, they can.
even really streaming it,
That's
right?
kind of what they're doing. Yes, that's kind of what they're doing, because you'd have to limit your connection in order to not get the entire thing from jump. These games are a meg less than in certain instances, right? So there's no
Right.
way you're doling this out slipstream. No, the whole thing goes into memory and then goes away when it's done.
Right, right, and that's the thing. So you're not worried about the latency input because it's all
Because it's all
there. It's not
in
like
your local
sending
memory.
a signal and then it's rendered over there and then comes
Yep.
back to you.
Yep.
I think
These are games. These
I'm
are
thinking
games that
that's
can
what's happening
run
because it's so small.
perfectly. These are games, with the exception of maybe PS1, some of the PS1s. These are games that can run perfectly on your Iris integrated graphics chip. Like, they are nothing. They run on your old, like, Android cheap cell phone. They can run on those things. So
Oh,
there
this is
should be
also
no
available
resource.
on Android and not iOS.
There you go. There you go. Well, yeah, probably not iOS because of the same issues that plague Game Pass, right? You can't have something like this like on iOS. But no, I do think this is super interesting. They have all these various platforms, as you're seeing on the screen here. I'm not sure where I'm going to get it, right? Because what you're describing right now, I might probably get it on the PC first, and then see how the integration works on the console side. Because I feel like on the PC this would be, well, I don't know. I'll look into it. Since the issues of the day are the issues of the day, I'll decide where I get it first. Ultimately, like you, I want it everywhere. I want to be able to, dole it out and play, start here and end there, play with friends on the go, wherever I am with it. It's a great service. It's a great idea. And we'll move forward, but I'll end it by saying these are the instances where cloud does look kind of interesting, right? Everybody says nobody will use cloud. Cloud is a waste. These are the ideas that cloud can be useful for, right? You don't have to saturate your internet connection with AAA games. Just go a couple years back, really old school games, the whole thing will run. You won't even notice a single thing of latency because the highway is so big at this point, right? It's pretty awesome. So I do appreciate that these things are allowed to fester and exist, and creativity can happen in this way. Yes, AAA can't happen because the bandwidth isn't there for it, but this isn't AAA. So I think it's awesome. But okay, let us move on, Mr. Everborn Saga. And quickly, I want to ask you, and by the way, like I said before on this show, ladies and gentlemen, in the chat, and by that, I see we have 146 folks, 142 people in here. Thank you guys so much for being here. Hit the like button if you haven't done so. I think I see 61 likes right now. Please hit the like button. Consider joining us, being a subscriber if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet. It's free. Please join us. And of course, we give you all this great content every week. We appreciate y'all. We see the chat is growing. Cheo Walker, I see you there. He said he bought it yesterday. I want to hear your review, sir, because this is speaks right to me, man. Like, I would say I probably have most of these games in one shape or form or fashion, but much like iTunes, if you make it convenient for me, I will forego all my methods and just start using this as the method moving forward. So hopefully this is the way to move forward. But Mr. Everborn Saga, I want to ask you.
Time is money.
That's right.
Me time.
Save me time, and I'll give you my money. That's right. Question, sir. What do you think of Sarah Bond putting out the small little dash of hope that at some point, maybe in 2023 still, Elden Ring is coming on Game Pass?
So, it's interesting, but I would just want to preface all that with saying, who the hell hasn't bought Elden Ring at this point?
This is my question. But you know what, though?
That's the first thing.
But you know what, though?
There's another thing.
Like, more people have bought GTA 5 than Elden Ring, but they still somehow, some way, still sell all the time, right? I've seen them give GTA 5 away at the Epic Game Store, and still it sells over and over. It keeps selling. So the question is, there might still be some cachet in this IP.
No, but Elden Ring, unlike GTA, doesn't have really any microtransactions. Now, here's the point of this one,
okay,
right?
Yeah.
Sarah Bond actually does this a lot. She'll do emojis so you can tell what game it is.
Yeah.
The difference here, though, is she put Xbox, right? So usually, right, she'll just put some emojis to show that, like, she just did one for Street Fighter, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't mean Street Fighter is coming to Game Pass, but she specifically put Elden Ring Xbox. I think that's what had this tweet feeling different from the other ones where she does these emojis. So it would be interesting. I think it would be huge. Like, imagine that commercial where you say, Starfield, COD, and Elden Ring all in one service.
All in one service. Ooh, boy. That would pull some triggers, man. That would get some people to buy. That's for sure. Yes.
By the way,
and I see you, Slow-mo, like, and Slow-mo, I am uniquely qualified to challenge you on that one, because I know.
Fight. Let's go.
I know that Mr. Everborn Saga has not tried GeForce Now. Yes, GeForce Now is better than any handheld, but the single point of failure is a very single point, which is your network connection, and that is very problematic in most American cities, right? It is very problematic in most American cities. If you are in the ideal scenario, yes, 100%, absolutely, it's better than any handheld. But when you're not in the ideal scenario, when I'm literally flying like over like and I can't use net connection, and the plane's internet is absolute trash, I wouldn't be playing Fist, whether it be on GeForce or xCloud. It'd have to be local render. So the idea that the GeForce or any cloud service is better than local rendering right now, right? Until they find some stopgap or maybe some technological method to say, okay, for a short amount of time, for X amount of time, you're offline now, so we're gonna let you continue playing it somehow in a local rendered way, and then when you get back online, then we continue rendering you like cloud-wise. You know, if they're able to stitch it hybrid-wise, then you have like the best solution. But today, handheld beats it, because you can play that everywhere and anywhere without any kind of internet connection, right? Single point of failure. So that's where I'll fight you, unfortunately. But okay.
And shout out to Spartan 661.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Thank you guys so much for being here. Yes, he says he loves the show. We appreciate you for being here. So you think this is a non-story? You think this is non-news if it happened to show up on Game Pass?
I think it'll make an interesting sizzle reel, but I feel like everybody that wants Elden Ring has already bought it.
Already gotten it. Okay. Okay.
I don't really know what it'll do, and it is not like a GTA game.
Sure.
So we'll see. Maybe once that big DLC comes out, it's a different story. And if because I think Avoid the Void pointed that out. If it is the DLC that comes to Game Pass, that is a huge deal.
Oh yeah. If it comes out and then they add the DLC to it, yes. Then it's special. Then it becomes something special. Okay. I have 2 stories, and then I want to talk ABK. I want you to catch me up on ABK.
Hold on a minute. Wait a minute. Just gave Avoid the Void a shout out, but now he says A-class executives who don't have time on their schedule to eat acting on social media like hardcore gamers is so petty. Here's the problem. Sir.
Here we go.
You can go and look at P3 on Xbox right now.
Man has receipts, that's for sure.
See how many days he has in Vampire Survivor. You can see how many days he has in Destiny. So that's not necessarily true. Now, I don't know what Sarah Bond's gamer tag is, but if she's playing it, she's playing it. A lot of people played that game.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of people who are hype about games that they never end up
You
finishing.
can say whatever you want about C-class executives or executives in general pandering, and I won't argue the point.
Well, he didn't disrespect it. He said A-class.
Well, whatever. I put him. Yes. I put some respect on it. You can slander any level of executive in their level of pandering to the gamer, but I will say, as I've seen on Xbox executive side, when they say they game. Just like there have been gamers on the PlayStation side, there have been many gamers on the PlayStation side, and they've actually moved on to do other game-related things. But by and large, when the executives at Xbox say they are gamers, I don't purport to fight them on it, because every time they have had the receipts. So when they say, hey, they're gaming, I got nothing to say. Right? When Sarah Bond says her favorite game is what is it? Was
Sonic.
No, it wasn't Sonic. It was the
huge
side.
Sega.
It was an adventure game, point and click adventure game. Oh my goodness, I'll forget.
Myst?
No, not Myst. It was the very first one. Not Kingdom's Crown. One of those. Like one of the first point and click adventure games, way back in the day. Like, I will believe her because she can speak to that very well. Like, and they tend to speak to that very well. So yeah, I get the idea of pandering, and there's some of that for sure. But you know.
Also her job, but sure.
Also her job, right? But this isn't like, Jim Ryan holding the controller upside down kind of situation. Like, when they say they game, I believe them. If that's just so that they can get you to buy what they're selling, hey, that's up for debate. It is what it is. Let's see. I see a few super chats in it. Oh, I actually see one. I see Mac City Entertainment in here. Thank you, Mac, for being here. He said, with $2 super chat, he said, "What up, Kings? How we doing this Saturday morning? Thank you so much for being here. We're doing great. Appreciate you for being here. All is well. So I want to talk to you, Everborn Saga, about this. Now I'm putting it on Twitter.
Talk to me about Twitter.
About Twitter. Hold on. Let me get the actual tweet, because that's what I want to talk to you about, and it just popped into the general tweet. Give me a moment. Don't worry, there will be no tweet shaming of anyone. That's not what we
Okay,
about.
so the
Here.
tweet that you have on here with Khalif Adams about the
No.
women of Mission Impossible. Here's the thing.
Uh-huh.
If you've seen that movie, you know that Peggy Carter
is the
worst
boss.
character
Is
in
she?
that movie. I hate her.
I hate her. I love anything.
I don't
Peggy
mean
Carter's
her
in.
as a person. I don't mean her as an actress. I mean that character was
trash.
terrible.
Okay,
and she
we'll get back to that because I think anything that she plays,
everything was
boss.
her fault. Everything that happened in that movie was her fault. Oh my God.
We're railing it back in, ladies and gentlemen. Look at this thing. Zuby Tech, shout out to him, had the leak of the Q, Project Q. Have you seen this leak, sir?
I mean, I've seen it.
And of course, shout out to the man, the Fox, for pointing that out. He's saying this is what Xbox should do. He said there's an allegory here. You just need to show up with a real Xbox handheld for E3 time and say this is how you play Xbox game handhelds, an instructional video. So while they're doing this handheld, remote play thing, he's advocating make a real one and say this is how you share real Xbox games and show a full-fledged device. That's what he's advocating.
Well, okay, how about this? I'm gonna say something people may not like.
Okay, go ahead.
And I don't know if you have this on the docket, but there is, on top of this, there's rumors of a PlayStation Pro.
That's where we're going, sir. We're going there as well. But continue. Yes.
To bridge these two, this is terrible. I don't think I need to say much more about that.
No, but I want to hear your take on this, first and foremost. Yes. What do you think of this?
I think instead of an Xbox Pro, they should make a handheld.
You think they should make their Switch?
Yes. And I think it should play anything the Series S can play. Now,
hey,
regarding this,
isn't that what the Fox was advocating when he came on our show? He said he's convinced that their next thing will be a Switch-like, based on some of the hardware, some of the development decisions that they were making. Remember, he was on the show saying exactly. 100%.
I absolutely think that's what they should do.
He did say though they have to go to Zen 3. If they go Zen 3, then if you hear them talk about going to Zen 3 instead of Zen 2. Then 100% they're going handheld because the optimizations, the technical optimizations that happen from 2 to 3 will help them. Every game you see right now running on Zen 2 will then be handheld capable because of Zen 3.
Yeah, I mean that's what I would like to see. Now, just regarding this before we transition to that. So this is running Android.
Yes, it is.
I don't know.
Which
This
excites me.
This looks like it's pre-release software or like.
Yes, it is. It probably has a front end. It's probably G Cloud like when it's done.
Yeah, because I don't really see any specific.
They'll make a launcher that will look exactly like the PlayStation branding and on all that. But like I was chatting with some great community members in the Twitter DMs. I am excited about this because it runs Android, even if it's a debilitatingly limited version of Android. Like the G Cloud has a piece of crap GPU CPU combination, but you can still get it to play some PS2, even some light Switch games, right? I doubt this has the same debilitatingly limited CPU GPU combination.
But what you don't know is if you'll be able to do anything except what Sony wants you to do.
Oh no. See, and this is the pushback I gave to the folks in the chat into the DMs as well. Just by virtue of using Android, you're giving people a window. Like, you can throw the most limited version of Android on there, fine. But the fact that you're using Android means someone can hook it, jailbreak it, and put a full-fledged version of Android on there. Yes, there will be security hoops to jump through and all that. But by virtue of using Android, you're giving the community the ability to undo your work.
I think even if they had full-fledged Gmail, Android, YouTube on it.
Bro, I'm telling you, there's no Android device known to man today that has not been unlocked.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying even if it was unlocked and you didn't have to do anything, I don't think you're gonna use a cloud-only device. I just don't.
Oh no, but this is my point. And I
don't think you're gonna run local Android games either. I don't think anyone wants to do that.
Hear me. See, you're missing the point. On a device like this, the priority are the buttons and the screen, right? As long as the processor was made 3-4 years ago, even if it's
you want to use it for emulation, right?
Exactly, the perfect size screen.
I don't think you're gonna want to do that.
Bro, do you know how many handhelds are out in the market that have this size, that size, the flip size, the Vita size, the look, ladies and gentlemen,
Okay.
watch the Fox. Let me finish. Watch the Fox, right? Watch the Fox's videos. Watch Retro Game Core, two of my favorite YouTubers that are doing these things. And I hope to have Retro Game Core on the show one of these days. He's in Hawaii, so it makes it difficult. But needless to say, there are like 50, 60 different devices that run the exact same CPU, same GPU. The only difference is form factor. This one's big, this one's small, this is that. The reason why the A1 Pro from AOK Zoe had such an enticing thing, it's got an 8-inch screen versus the 7-inch screen. As long as this thing runs any flavor of Linux, of Android at all, which is a flavor of Linux, which is derivative from Linux, and it has any kind of, even if it's able to do PS2, oh, this thing will be awesome. Not for general consumption. Let me be clear here. Let me make the point. Let me make it absolutely clear. This is not gonna, oh, this is the next coming, the next big device that sells out. No, it will be DOA, of course, right? But for someone like me, I would love to play full screen on that.
Why is this better than your ROG Ally or your Steam Deck or your
This will be better than the ROG Ally or the AOK Zoe from a ergonomics perspective. It'll be light as hell and still does everything you need to do. For something like for a Steam Deck,
how do you know how
for
light
a Steam Deck,
and ergonomic it will be?
Because this has minimal processing, very, very minimal processing. If you compare this, I suspect that the specs of this will be much similar to a G Cloud, which has minimal processing. The only thing that's weighing anything heavy in that is the battery. Now that's the only thing that I'm concerned about on this thing. The battery may be also very lackluster, but if the whole left and right side is full of battery and all they care about is screen and minimal processing, like minimal, right? You can play Dreamcast on this thing. You can play PS1, PS2 on this thing. And for most of us, that far is good enough. As long as this is not like $300.
It will be $300, and
that will be the deciding factor.
I'm telling you right now.
So ladies and gentlemen,
buy it, you're gonna use it, and then you're never gonna touch it again because you're gonna realize you have better devices to do the job. That's what's gonna happen.
You have to understand. But see, this is the mistake.
We will be right back here again.
Hear me. It's not about what's better, right? Because obviously, this is the same conversation that was had during. Let me finish. This was the same conversation that was had during the time when smartphones were everywhere and people started looking for e-readers. It's not about that. E-readers are the same thing as smartphones. You can read all the things on your smartphone, except people value single-use devices, like isolated devices that can just do what it can do, right? This can be taken with you offline if it can do what I think it can do, and just run a bunch of emulators, and that's all it'll be good for. And a lot of people will see value in that. Is all I'm saying.
It can't do what you think it can do.
Okay. And you're the authority on that because
I was right about the
have you ever emulated anything without getting help?
Yes, I have. I've been emulating. Oh, yeah? First of all, I've been playing. You may not know this, but I play Link to the Past every 2 years.
Oh, so you find ways of emulating it onto something every year. Okay, understood. Yeah. All I'm saying is don't count this thing out yet. For the massive and the PlayStation,
I already counted.
For your standard PlayStation,
is counted out.
For your standard PlayStation consumer, sure. But for someone like me, that thing is interesting, providing the price isn't too high.
For someone like you, who the ROG Ally didn't have enough memory, so you went and bought an AOK Zoe, this is going to be enough for you. That's what you want us to believe.
Now you're making ridiculous arguments. No one's trying to play. No one is trying to play.
You're not gonna use it.
No one is trying to play Jedi Survivor on this device, sir. No one's trying to do that, right? This is purported to play Jedi Survivor, so we're trying to do that. So you're going on
vacation, and you're gonna take this and your AOK or your Steam Deck or your what do you call it?
I'm going on vacation. Let me hear you. And so that you're aware, when I went on vacation, I took both my A1 Pro and the Steam Deck. And guess what the Steam Deck had on it? A bunch of retros that my kids could play. And then I was trying to play Jedi Survivor on the Zoe, which failed.
Steam Deck home and take this one instead.
What do you mean? Oh, well, if it's about what you're trying to do.
Or is this a third device you would carry?
It's about what you're trying to do. If you're there to play retro, you take the retro device. I have a Retroid Pocket 2 sitting over there. All it does is play games up to PS2. I still use that. right? There is no. What I'm trying to teach
taking
people.
a third handheld with you. That's
what I'm trying. What I'm trying to teach people is that every device has a different use case. It's not about what's better. Yes, Steam Deck can emulate everything, but Steam Deck is also heavier, right? You don't want to do that. You want to take something smaller that does expect. This is exactly the use case of your e-reader. It just. Can we highlight Slow-Mo's comment? Oh, okay. Let's see. Has Slow-Mo says something you finally agree with? Let me see here. Oh, okay. See, I see what they're doing. Whenever they agree with each other, then this. Thank you, Slow-Mo. I appreciate you. Good job, sir. All right. Well, let us move on because clearly
everybody in the chat knows I'm right. I just want to point that out. Sure. Because they know you by now.
People in the chat can think you're right, but you will find that when it releases, I'll be the one that does a bunch of interesting emulation on it. But I want to talk to you.
2 weeks.
No, not 2 weeks. Get out of here. I'm still emulating a bunch of stuff on this thing. I want to talk to you about the PS5 Pro because Tom Henderson put it out there a long time ago, and we kind of knew it was out there, and now we're getting a lot more actual details. Are you buying a PS5 Pro?
I don't think so. I mean,
what would make you buy a PS5 Pro?
I need another PlayStation for my living room.
Okay.
Because
you play your PlayStation enough to need multiples?
It's not about what I need. We just talked about that.
Well, no. Okay.
No.
You play your PlayStation enough where multiple controllers would get used.
Well, I mean, the battery life is so short on those controls. I use multiple controls right now, but that's a conversation for another day. But the point is, there's nothing there like right now. Now, if it is a market improvement, right? Maybe I'll think about it only because I might need another one for the living room, but it's not really like right now. I have two Series X's and one PlayStation, right? And maybe I'll get one, put it in the office or something, but I don't play the PlayStation enough to really warrant it. But maybe in the second half of the generation they'll have a lot more stuff.
Let me based on the information that we're getting, and obviously this is all like really like pinch of salt kind of information, even though they were right, more information's coming out, so you can take that as you will. But based on the details we're getting right now, if you recall, some of us have been saying that PlayStation has been selling you snake oil. The ray tracing is not real ray tracing. They're leveraging AMD Smart Shift, which gives you CPU resources and GPU resources when you need it. So they don't actually have all the real resources. They're just kind of fudging it. All of this, the data that looks like based on the rumor and speculation is, they're now stopping the fudging. Now they're talking about actual hardware-based ray tracing. They're now actually talking about the bandwidth necessary. So they're basically building a PS5 Pro that will then actually compete with the Series X based on the numbers that's here. Obviously, of course, numbers versus reality
the
become a different thing.
Competing with the
but this is the thing exactly. Yeah. Numbers versus reality are a different thing. On the page, the PS5 was far less performant than the Xbox. In reality, because of whatever context you wanna bring about, the PS5 has been very performant, more so than the Xbox. Anybody can say that, right? But based on some of the rumor and speculation we see on here and the memory bandwidth that they're looking to allocate and actually, calling out accelerated ray tracing, those of us that have been going, come on guys, don't be fooled. They're now going, before people pay attention, let's fix that. So they're actually putting hardware-based ray tracing in the PS5 Pro based on this speculation.
If we think about it this way, if we look at how devs, again, this is partly because they only have one SKU to work on. It's not like a vendetta against Xbox.
Sure.
I mean, unless it's like the Quantum era devs, then they actually do have a vendetta against Xbox. But for the most part, developers do not have a vendetta against Xbox.
They just go where the biggest pool is.
Right. You go where the biggest pool is. Source constraint, right? Like, so you have a time when you have to ship. You have so many devs. You only got one SKU to focus on for PlayStation, and you got two SKUs to focus on for Xbox, and you got to make them hit that date. And so I just think it's not really like a hardware issue, and it may not even be a tools issue. It's just the
you know
amount of
what?
time you have to put into each one is different.
You know what though? I will actually say this ultimately, if this is all that we see, and you see you see this PS5 Pro come out, and you don't see another Xbox, and it's just this, and now they're saying, because I've heard some marketing speak after this came out, and people are going, I don't know if it's Microsoft officially that said that, but they're basically saying the Xbox Series X is the mid-gen refresh, and the Xbox Series S is the standard, so they're fine, right? But, and I think that's marketing, but if that is where we find ourselves, like a year from now, you have a PS5 Pro and the Series X, it kind of will work in the Series X's favor, because as you and I have talked, let me.
I know what you're gonna say. I just
what
don't
am I
think
gonna
you
say?
will. I think you're being very optimistic.
What am I gonna say?
You're saying that now that you have more compute units and you have the dedicated ray tracing block and all those things, the devs will now learn how to use it because of the PlayStation, then turn around and use it on the Xbox.
No. Yes, but no, because they have to now.
You just can't say I'm right. It's so difficult.
But hear it, because they now have to actually spend some dedicated resources moving the stuff. Because remember, before everything was in that main highway, because PlayStation did it that way, and that's the biggest pool. So you have to do it to the biggest pool. That's where all your users are. But if they get an HOV lane that's specifically for ray tracing, people will use that because it's the biggest pool. And that, unless here's the big caveat, unless the method of implementation is completely different than DirectX 12's method, which is Xbox's method, which is Microsoft's method, they would benefit from that. It's entirely possible. Absolutely. Who knows? It's entirely possible. But there are only so many ways to slice that. And clearly they're going to have to use a tried and true method unless they expect, because that's what Sony has been good at, right? They are good at leveraging existing tried and true methods to keep their development pipeline streamlined and make it less of a headache for Sony. For Sony.
By the way, shout out to Cadmun. I hope I said your name right. We're happy to have you here. He said YouTube absolutely. Finally recommended a good show. Thank you.
That's amazing. That's excellent. We appreciate
the algorithm has worked in our favor.
Finally, right? Sometimes it works.
Why don't we use that as an opportunity for, if you're not, if you haven't liked or you haven't subscribed yet, check us out. We do these things once a week, 10 a.m. Saturday.
Absolutely. Thank you,
so by the way, another thing, I don't know if you guys noticed this. This is episode 99.
Yes.
Next week is episode 100, and we want to do something very big.
Let's talk about that for a moment, Mr. Everborn Saga. Let's take a little off.
Let's not forget about what we're talking about, because I do have a point that I want to make that I don't think
make your point, and then we'll take this detour, because I want to talk to the community about what they want to see for episode 100. But let's finish up the PS5 Pro stuff. So you're saying unless it has a proportionately better output, somehow really visible, which is difficult because even for PS4 Pro to 5, it hasn't really been that drastic that people go, oh my God.
Right, because it wasn't that big of a jump. And you could argue that maybe this will bring it in line from a hardware space or a little bit above the X, and at that point it's negligible. But again, it's going to come back to Xbox to show why that the system can keep up, and they will have enough developers to do that. So that is that's fine. Here's the thing. Everyone's saying, because this is a game of tit for tat and everybody's jealous of everybody else, that Xbox needs to have an answer for this. And now, I do agree that Digital Foundry is going to cream their pants in every comparison. They're going to be like, oh my God, the PS5 Pro is the definitive place to play this. Sure, they're going to do that.
And you and I both know that while the minority are the loudmouths and they don't really account for the whole pie, we have seen the loudmouths, the small minority, take a piece out of them. So if they're loud enough, they could move the needle.
Well, you can't move the needle unless they were already planning this. You can't just pull in.
And you and I both know definitively, right? We know, because we hear it all the time, that Xbox is not resting on their laurels. They probably have 3 or 4 prototypes right now, including your hybrid console you keep wanting to talk about, right? So if they have one sitting there and they keep getting creamed, is there a chance that they might pull the trigger? I said creamed.
And I said pause.
Is there a chance that they might follow suit? Go ahead.
So here's the thing. I'm just gonna stand in my square. I think the answer to this is Xbox's version of the Switch. I think that's the answer.
Hybrid
and
console.
I think you have an Xbox Pro right now, and it's called a 4090. All of their games come to PC. All their games can be experienced at better than whatever this PS5 Pro is going to be. Because if you believe it's going to do 8K, 60 frames a second, I have a bridge to sell you, right? So I say, fine, let the PlayStation do it. Like, if you want those kind of graphics from the Xbox games, you can play on PC. I think the better play is to do the handheld. That right now they're talking all of this mobile stuff. They're buying ABK. They're talking about this mobile store. They're talking about gaming for everyone on the go. Handheld is the way you go, and I think that would be more successful than a pro version of an Xbox, because they're not using the Xbox to the power than it is now. Devs aren't using that, so you're going to make a pro that's going to be a third thing for them to not use again.
There are some moments, Everborn Saga, that I hate more than any moments at all, and these are the moments right now where I am
I'm right.
Vigorous agreement with you. God damn it! No, jokes aside, no. It's exactly like the resolution debate, right? They made the mistake of convincing consumers that 900p, 720p sucks. 900p not so good. 1080p, you're on your way. 1440p, that's what you want.
Hold on. People are saying, I don't have a PC unless they're gonna build. And shout out to you guys in the chat. But here's the thing. They're not giving away a pro console. No. You're gonna have to buy it, and they just raise prices on these. These are gonna cost upwards of $700.
So let me give you
fine spending $700 on another system, but you can't get a video card.
So let me put things in perspective for you. Like let me agree with you. Okay. The reason why I think, whether they will or they won't, why I think they should do what you're describing is because they made the same mistake with resolution talk. Eventually, they got 4K into the zeitgeist, so much so that at this point, every time they don't hit 4K, they're making black eyes for themselves. And even 4090s can't hit 4K without rendering.
I said 4090. Okay, cool. I have a 3080 right now. Slow-mo, you're in the chat. Pixels in the chat. K, you got a 4090, but you had a 3080. Can the Series X and the PlayStation keep up with a 3080?
No.
It can't. How much can you get a 3080 for right now?
In certain instances, it can, but like for like, there's no way. There has to be concessions made. And how
would
much
it be fair to say that the PS5 Pro might be able to keep up with a 3080? Maybe not, right?
Maybe.
Okay, because even how much would a 3080 cost?
Because even today, you're not getting away from you're not like leaving a store with a 3080 unless you're paying at least $500-600 today. Exactly. There you go. You can get a used one for $600 to $700 today. So imagine PlayStation trying to make money, trying to put that level of hardware into their next device. They'd have to charge you $1,000 to make money. Not happening. So even though concessions are the name of the game,
$700. You understand the regular PlayStation 5 right now is
they will most no doubt charge you $700. But if they're charging you $700,
these are the people who charged you upwards
if they are
of
charging you
for a VR.
If they're charging you $700, they're not putting a $500 value graphic card in it. They're putting a $200, $300 card so that they can make, and that's just the card, not including all the other components and the marketing and all of the extras that make up your PS5 Pro. The hardware component cost cannot be more than maybe $200, $250 in order to make that $700 machine. Because there's so many other components. They're not skimping out on the SSD all of a sudden.
My point is, for Xbox games, if you want those higher graphics, you already have those options today. I think what would better suit the platform is making a handheld.
Well, but see, what I'm agreeing with you here is the fact that they've already made the mistake of trying to convince the consumer that it's a ladder, and it's not. This one's not better than the other. The other one's not. Yes, it's more performant, but if you're trying to, if you're trying to go to the grocery store, you don't need a Lamborghini to get there. Your Honda Civic will be fine, right? They are tired. They made the mistake of convincing consumers that everything has to be 4K. And now they're hurting about it because you cannot get hardware that will get you to 4K. But you've convinced consumers that if you're not at 4K, you're an L. And that's not true, because in many instances, 1440p will work, 1080p will work, depending on the size of your screen. So to your point, Everborn, I think you're right that it would be in their best interest to start teaching consumers differently, saying, hey, this is a handheld, and because it's a handheld, this CPU GPU combination works perfectly in it, just like they did with the Series S, right? We're here for 1080p/1440p gaming, so this 8T flop or whatever will work for you, rather than continuing that concept of, oh, it's a step ladder. If you don't have the latest and greatest, the biggest and baddest, you're not doing it right. It doesn't work for them, because when they do the latest and greatest, biggest and baddest, there's less money coming into their pocket because they have to pay for that. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I say all that to say, in a world where they can effectively thread the needle and say, oh, the next gen Xbox is a hybrid console, yeah, they can claw back some of that narrative. They can go a little less performant.
I just feel like people are not using the features on the Series X right now.
Yeah.
And you introduce another one that's going to be more features that they're just not going to use. Yeah. So if you want okay. Mm-hmm. Jez and Rand brought up something very interesting about, and this is slightly on the topic, but also off topic, talking about what the architecture for the next Xbox could be. Mm-hmm. And Jez seems to think they're going to bring it closer to a PC.
It's as close to a PC as it's ever going to be.
Even today. What if this is just for conversation purposes? I'm not saying I believe this, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not even saying I want this.
Yeah.
But what if that whole Windows gaming mode, right? A locked mode just for gaming, right? That we say that you use for a handheld device, but it'll just play whatever a PC can make. How we talked about the Steam box. Mm-hmm. What if the next Xbox was that? It was just a PC in a locked handheld, in a locked gaming mode, and that's the same thing. So developing it for it is just developing the PC game.
So the only way where I push back on you on that is on PC versions of games have to contend with a lot of Windows overhead. And they can do that because they are not tuning it to the metal. You are, right? You have overhead for Windows plus whatever else. Wow. Lucius Augustus says Windows is cancer. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. He's one of those Apple guys, right?
Wow. Dude.
Trying to make Mac gaming a thing.
Jesus Christ.
Stop trying to make fetch happen, man.
Wow.
It's never going to happen. That is these Mac guys over here begging for emulation.
I think that is the most slanderous thing I have ever heard on the Saturday morning. That is the most slanderous.
Using a Windows machine right now to say that.
Jesus Christ!
Shut up.
That is the most slanderous thing I've ever heard on a Saturday morning. And I work with Mr. Everborn Saga. That is wow. Okay. Forgive me. Wow. Okay. All I'm saying is the reason why that won't work is the console operating systems have benefited from very lean OS, right? The closest hybrid that you can think of is is Steam, Valve, with their Linux operating system. It is a full-fledged open operating system you can mess with, but by and large, it's super, 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 super lean, and they let you mess with it because this is the Windows space, right? In order for this to work like you're describing, they have to have a very lean OS that can always do exactly what you are asking it to do. It can always repeat. That's what consoles are, right? So that way you profile it once and you know that every other console will behave exactly the same because it has exactly the same exact metrics. You kind of can't do that in Windows. Even in the single pane mode, like we're describing, where all it does is just give you it turns everything off and lets Windows be a game mode, right? It'll shut too much off. There's too much overhead in Windows. It's too big. You'd need to fork it, right? Which is kind of what they did for the operating system that Windows what do you call it? The Xbox uses now. It uses the same kernel, but they have to fork it because there's just too much overhead thick dropping onto it before it boots up your dashboard, right? So in a hybrid scenario, you're gonna have to contend with that, right? They didn't want to contend with that. That's why they just took the kernel and created a fork of Windows for their console stuff. The minute you bring them together, now you have to deal with the fatness that is Windows.
They design a game mode where the UI is just the Xbox UI.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Actually, hang on, it's actually Windows, and you can turn off all those services. So
that's the problem. Windows has certain like minimum requirements that runs every time. Yes, you can custom it. Yes, you can. Some people have, right? You like the Tiny 11s exist. People have been able to do that, but it's not in Microsoft's best interest to have that work. A lot of the bloat of Windows is telemetry, and they're never going to turn off telemetry, like ever, right?
But that's telemetry in your Xbox right now, right?
Sure, but they implemented that differently, not at the kernel level, because that loads up and makes everything fat. They created that's why they created a console-like interface, and then added that telemetry on top once everything is loaded and everything is. They implemented it in a different way, because if you do it through Windows, you have to contend with the however many years of Windows cruft that's there, right? That's a big reason why I had a problem with Windows-based handheld, because when you load it up, you got print spoolers that spin up. You have this, you have that, you have all the various kinds of what do you call it? Network drivers that it has to contend for, right? If you're talking about a console-like operating system, they have one driver, so they only have to search for one thing. So it's quick. No need for all the
right. What I'm saying is,
but if you hybridize it and put it in a standard Windows machine, there's no way for them to cut to the chase, because they have to account for all the potentials in Windows.
Right, but I'm saying if you're booting into this, but just think of SteamOS versus Linux and how that works, and how you're booting into another mode, right? But using the same file system.
See, the difference that you're describing in the SteamOS versus Linux debate, SteamOS only accounts for one piece of hardware, Steam Deck, right? The cool thing about what they do is it's an open-ended, it's open source operating system, so anybody can add drivers for anything that they don't. But Valve, only account for their one piece of hardware. That's why they can still make it work performant. When you boot it up, it's not accounting for any other thing. It's not like Windows that thinks, oh, I might be running on an HP machine and all their nuances, or a Dell machine and all their nuances, or this or that, right? Because it's Linux, Valve has the ability to strip out all the other potential context and just give you that one solitary experience. Windows can do that, but they have too much history. That's why they purport to fork their kernel and give you a fresh pane of glass, because they don't want to deal with all that history. Could they do it? I'm sure they could. But the question is, are they ready and willing to spend the R&D dollars to do so? Exactly. Are they so inclined, right? These are the guys who literally turned their console hardware into software through emulation. They can do whatever the hell they want. They are kings.
So two things I want to point out. Jago6 says, do y'all realize that Microsoft is working on their own version of Linux that will run Windows apps?
Yes.
That's one thing, and maybe
they've been doing that. They've been doing that for a minute. Yes, they're just not quite there yet. Yes.
Microsoft is actually one of the largest contributors to Linux.
To the Linux,
wild when you think about it. Now, Slomo has another comment. Read that one for me, because I think it's an interesting idea.
He says, guys, what if Xbox created a division that would take requests, build mid to high-end PCs for gamers, and you can trade in your Xbox to mitigate some of the cost, and that cost would be branded Xbox. Bro, that would be the best idea. I want them to turn Xbox. No, they're not. They're not. Xbox. Well, right. They were thinking about doing a trade-in program back in the day, but that was squashed during the Xbox One gen. But that's neither here nor there. I think that would be such a cool idea. Turn Xbox into a brand fully. Is the background running Xbox OS, or is it running Windows? It doesn't matter. It's still Xbox, right? And I actually, believe it or not, I think, back to the subject at hand on the screen, I think PlayStation could and should do the same. They're mid to high end like PC
You're
brand.
Basically saying Steam machines for Xbox.
I'm saying Steam machines for all. You want the Xbox platform? There's a platform for
No, but that's what I'm
there's-
saying. I'm saying apply the Steam machine idea to Xbox
to
and
platforms.
say someone's buying that. But I think in order to do that, you need this separate OS like Steam OS that is an Xbox OS. It runs on top of Windows. You can then switch to boot into
So
Windows
you are
if you need to.
in an ideal scenario, you are right, but because they will not remove the history of Windows that exists in it.
Let me put
They're
it.
gonna have to port it.
Way.
They have
but
to fork
it's
it.
not.
Go ahead.
But hang on, right? Lucius Augustus in the chat makes an interesting point. He says Xbox would need to make more money than Windows to make changes that everyone wants.
Yeah.
Xbox would need more power to make Windows do this. Here's the thing. After the Activision acquisition from a revenue
They have a bigger budget than Windows.
Gaming will be making more than Windows.
Yes.
Right?
This but this is the point. This would require a fundamental rewrite of the operating system that literally got you to know what Microsoft is. Can it be done? 100% it can be done. But it would require a fundamental going
Windows is not
let me tell you this. They would have to do to Windows what Nintendo is doing with Elephant Tusk Mario. Complete rewrite in order for this to work. And I hear you. We have Freddy Fingers in pocket right now. We have Satya Nadella, who has no sacred cows. He's able to cut if you're not performing. But the question is, how much money do they see ahead of them in the gaming department, to the point where they are now have a separate, like, and this is not like a small team. You would need a Windows like fundamental developer building blocks team to take what is Windows and rewrite it for the purposes of consoles, for the purposes of handheld. You need to do that.
I feel like you're saying you have to throw out all the stuff that Windows is used for. And I'm
not saying you have to throw that out. I'm saying hear me.
I'm talking about building a mode that could
hear me. I'm not saying you have to throw that all out. Windows is not modular. Linux is modular. In order to do what you're looking for, you have to turn Windows into a modular OS, meaning when you're not using those things, they are off. Not dormant, not lying in the background, off. That's what Linux offers right now. That's the reason why you can say, I'm booting into the Steam Deck front end, and all you get is the Steam Deck front end, and you don't have the desktop running in the background. No, it's a modular OS. You can use this component or that component, and when you're not using the component, it's off, saving you resources, right? Right now, you can't do that today with Windows. Even if all you see is the front end, you got Windows running in the background. You got all these other things like having to run in order for Windows to continue to be stable. In order for this to work, and you're right, it can happen and it can work. They're going to have to do the work to turn Windows, that thing with 30 plus years of history, into a modular OS where when you have a front end mode, it turns everything off, and then you don't have print spoolers and all the stuff running in the background, and you can turn them on when you so choose. Today, that doesn't work. Today,
right.
that doesn't exist.
I just want to be clear. I'm not talking about manually turning on.
No, it would be an auto.
Things.
Obviously, it sees the hardware. It turns it on by automatic. Yes.
Right.
Yes. Just like what Steam does right now. Yeah.
The point is, and we can move on from this.
Yeah, absolutely.
We weren't planning
I think
to
it's
talk
super
about
interesting.
I think it could be done, and I think if Windows, as gaming becomes a larger revenue driver than Windows, this is how you take Windows into the future. Because Windows is not growing. People use it because it is sort of the default, right? And it runs the world, but it's not.
Hey, little by little, it's no longer the default. That tyranny of the default is slowly losing that grip because people are now
trying to move it to the cloud and all
to mobile. Things. That's right. So okay. I appreciate the convo. It's like it's ripe for further discussion. Like you know, on this show, we are technologists. We love this kind of stuff. So as more of this stuff comes to fruition, you'll see it from us. I suspect at some point before, if this thing exists, the PlayStation 5 Pro, between myself and Mr. Everborn Saga, one of us may have.
Void is saying Windows runs on x86 and not open source. That really doesn't matter because we're talking about Microsoft making the change. It doesn't matter that it's closed source things. We're not talking about like it's slow-mo coming in the background saying I'm going to change Windows because I feel like it.
No, it's about Microsoft themselves seeing that this is valuable enough to where they not open source it, but at least, if nothing else, put the resources needed to make these changes, right? It would take a lot of resources to make these changes. Can they do it? 100% they can. My question is, do they see enough money in it to spend the time and the energy needed to do it? That's the question, right?
They saw value in spending $80 billion on gaming. I think.
Yeah.
You know.
So
they've never spent that much on Windows in one shot.
Sure. So and to thread that needle, right? I think while they see the value in gaming, and you see that, and you see them spending what they're spending, the more of these things that show up in the market that run Windows, the better it is for that argument. Because they get a lot of telemetry saying that, hey, we have 7-inch devices, 8-inch devices running our machine, running our operating system. And guess what? They all have OSs, all front ends that aren't necessarily aren't doing the best for them. And they are not really, to Microsoft's point.
Wait a minute.
So if there's more of these being shown up, that will most likely lead to them putting the money necessary.
A little bit confused about what I'm saying. Okay. I'm not saying this would be Linux based, and I'm saying this would literally run all the games that you would run on Windows. This idea is saying there don't have to make a separate a separate SKU for Xbox, because
I think folks aren't getting what you're
PC
saying.
Gaming.
Yeah,
right?
Folks aren't getting what you're saying. So just so you know, real quick, it's all PC gaming
less
now.
Works for the dev.
Yeah, it's all PC gaming now, because right now when you're building for Windows, right? Get PlayStation out of it. When you're building for Windows and you're building for Xbox, it's all the same track. Yes, there are certain differences, and there are certain more requirements needing to be check marks needed to be checked off before you can call it an Xbox game, because then it has to go through testing and has to be approved. But by and large, the development of Xbox games and PC games are a similar track, and it's in Microsoft's best interest to do that, because they build all of that. They build all that together. And of course, as he is now wanting to do, he shows up just to derail us a little bit. Salute to the man, Paris Lily, to come on our show once and now come in our chat and remind us of the righteousness, which is that Sonic is better. Well, Mario is better than Sonic.
You said it right. That was a Freudian slip.
Stop. Remember, PG-13. You lost yours.
That was my one. I used it. I used it on Paris, and it was well deserved.
So to button up this conversation, we understand what we're talking about here. If we want this to, like, the vision here would be Microsoft taking Windows and going, okay, we have Windows. It still exists. It's still going to do everything Windows does today, but we're going to modularize the operating system so that you can turn certain components off, so that when you run it on something like this, it can get all the resources right from jump, rather than the background layer that's currently
turning off certain components. I just want a mode.
It needs to automatically do so. It's not a manual process. This is exactly like what are we talking about? This is exactly like Windows 8. Remember back in the Windows 8 days, they had a single mode, right? You could buy a cheap version of Windows. You could buy a very cheap. They would give you a Windows a laptop, but then the version of Windows, because it's cheaper, was cheaper because it had single mode on it, and all it would run are games from or apps from their app store. If it wasn't from the app store, it wouldn't run it. They called it single mode, right? And because of that, they could then make sure that everything that runs on that machine is hitting a certain performance metric, because they know that you're not able to install anything outside of that on it, right? Something similar would have to be done here, but then they would remove all the background stuff that you wouldn't need on a handheld, right? And it wouldn't be removed, it would auto shut off when you're in handheld mode. That's what we're talking about.
Paris says Sonic is the Kmart knockoff version of Mario. Guess what? At least Amy's not cheating on Sonic. I could tell you that with Mr. Robotnik.
See, now you wanna talk about their love life.
At
Let
least,
us.
at least Amy didn't leave Sonic on the moon. We could talk about that if you want to, Paris.
Sonic is literally the blue light special, says Paris. Oh man, this is gonna become. See, we want to one day maybe play Sonic games on the
Mario
show.
wears red.
Oh boy.
And if you ever been to, you know what? I was gonna talk about
Moving
Antstream,
along.
Forget it.
Moving quickly along, ladies and gentlemen. Please hit the like button if you haven't done so. We have 179 folks in here. We appreciate y'all being here. We have under 100 likes. Please, 2 people. All we need are 2 people, and then we have 100 likes. Thank you so much for checking us out. Hit that like button.
We got almost 180 people in here. We're only trying to get to 100.
Mr.
Can we do 150? Can we do 150 people?
So,
here? We're
Mr.
having like
Saga.
introspective conversation. We're not like this is good, man. See, we're above 100. Thank you, everybody. But we should be at 150. So, you all believe it.
So, I went on vacation.
Yeah. Just because you wanted to talk about Sonic, Paris, now we're gonna talk about ABK. We're gonna bore you to death.
Oh Lord. I went on vacation and then everything happened. What happened? Everything happened. Everborn Saga, what happened? Please tell me what happened. Okay. What happened?
What was the last thing you remember before we left?
The last thing I remember before we left was we were listening. Paris is laughing his butt off now. We were listening
Slow-mo
to
says, who is Amy? A loyal character
who nobody knows or cares about. Moving on.
I don't even know because he's not a hedgehog. I don't know what she is.
Yeah, what is she? Who knows? No. So the last thing I remember talking about with you about this whole ABK thing was we were waiting for Judge Corley's ruling, and then like right at the day, I think it was, or the day before I was leaving, Judge Corley's decision came down. Yeah, I was leaving on Tuesday. Judge Corley's decision came down Monday something, or is it Tuesday?
No, it came to Tuesday morning.
Okay,
right?
So I was leaving Tuesday afternoon. It came Tuesday morning, and since that time, I've been catching some things, you know, and I've been watching a lot of the great coverage. Shout out to Post Up. Shout out to Foss Patton. A lot of the spaces were so entertaining and interesting.
Hogue even came back to do a video on this stuff. It was actually amazing.
But we are not at the finish line. I mean, we are all but at the finish line. We're literally looking at the finish line, looking behind us, going, "What's going on, guys?" But we're not crossing that finish line just yet. So, tell me where we are, sir.
Okay, so just to catch you up from that Tuesday, the case and the decision from Judge Corley went the same way we thought it was. I know we said you can't account for crazy, but if you listen to that, if you listen to the trial and you listen to the testimony and you listen to the closing arguments, it does feel a little good that we saw this thing, we looked at it for a year, we called it what it was, and the people who were not in favor of the deal told us that we were crazy. They told us that we're just being fanboys and we're not looking at the bigger picture. So it is nice when a federal judge comes in and agrees with the thing you were saying, because it makes you say, well, maybe a spade is a spade.
So right? Are we saying that week that I was gone where the judge ruled in favor of the deal or did not block the preliminary injunction, does that mean all of those people who were in the DMs and on Twitter talking about how this deal was anti-competitive, did they all finally come to their senses and go, "Oh, well, the law now says it's righteous"? So,
well, no, because they said judges can be wrong.
Okay. Continue. Okay.
By the way, Matt Stolar. I don't know if you know who he is, but he is he wrote some book. He's very against the deal.
Okay.
He did some quote tweet of me. He said that I'm a paid Microsoft something.
Ooh.
This is a guy with 100 and whatever thousand followers, by the way.
Ooh.
And so
I have one call out. Okay.
No. But I pointed out that I'm found out. I'm in the Illuminati, right? But guess who ratioed the guy with 140,000 subscribers? By the way, Lena Khan follows Matt Stolar. That's very interesting. And Matt Stolar called Judge Corley because the decision didn't go the way he wanted, called her a boomer moron.
Oh wow.
Matt
Wow.
Stolar tried to insinuate because her son works for Microsoft that she's compromised.
I
Matt
mean,
Stolar called
the
Judge
lawyer for the
Corley
FTC
an
worked
idiot.
for SIE. Does that mean
Right?
he's compromised?
And I just noticed how all of the name calling of public officials and important people, it is okay when things are not going in your direction.
I'm looking at Matt Stolar's Twitter handle right now. He works at the American Economics Liberties Project.
Yeah, that's
okay.
Not really right.
Yeah,
but
no,
anyway,
that's usually the name for snake oil. Understood.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Nice.
Now I know who. Now I know who we're
but,
talking about. Continue.
But again, I just found it interesting that my thing is this, right? If you're a fan, right, just be a fan. Don't point to the other side like you're holier than thou and you have some moral high ground. And then when things aren't going in your direction, you turn around and do the same thing that you were saying other people were zealots for, right? Right? You're in the mud with the rest of us, right? So anyway, that was a little thing. So decision came down, people were mad. Then we find and not 30 minutes later, the CMA of all people magically came to the door and said, you know what, Dormammu, I've come to negotiate.
Dormammu, right? He says.
Right? So then, so that was the thing, and it leaked from David Fabin from CNBC that the CMA had agreed to something with Microsoft, right? But the next day, the FTC says, hey, we're going to appeal, right? And so right after the FTC announces they're going to appeal, the CMA says, wait, hold on. This is still going to take time, and we didn't agree to anything, and our order still stands, right? But then the FTC loses the appeal, right? And magically the CMA is like, let's schedule a case management conference so we could put the cat appeal on pause. So you can see whether we want to call it a coincidence, whether we want to call it something else, I will leave that to you guys. But
kind of face-saving mode, in my humble opinion, I think.
Right. Now we get to Monday, and there's the case management conference. And remember, the deal had a deadline of Tuesday, the 18th. So what is happening? Okay. Fantastic. No. It's just my chat on the side. I keep it on the side.
Okay.
It was being funny. Anyway, so the Monday case management conference happens, and the CAT judge, Marcus Smith, is pissed off by this because they say, wait a minute, the FTC loses, and the day before they lost, you wanted to delay this hearing, right? You were really trying to try this case. You didn't want to hear anything that Microsoft has to say. And now you're coming to me and say you want to work things out.
So let me ask you a question about that. And I like, this is me genuinely having a question because I didn't understand that too well. It took a point, right? And I listened to the judges, to that part of the hearing as well. It seemed at some point that, because let's be clear, it seems like that CAT hearing is the emergency break glass. Hey, we're not getting what we want. Microsoft wanted to appeal the case, so they did that, right? Which is something you can do. That is part.
And I do want to point out before you continue that Microsoft had gotten literally everything they wanted from the CAT hearing so far. They wanted an expedited date.
Exactly.
They wanted to bring in and the CMA did not want the expedited date. CAT ruled in favor of Microsoft there.
Yeah.
They wanted to bring in their own experts.
Yeah.
Right. They were bringing their own experts. CAT didn't want experts. CMA didn't want experts. CAT said, yes, you can bring experts. The CMA tried to delay on the eve of the closing arguments of the FTC case, and Cat said, "Get out of my face," and really cursed them out, right?
Yep. Yep.
They had to get up in the middle of the night to write that. So
with all that
why?
established, right? With all that established, they were getting what they wanted, and then for one reason or another, it was then through various conversations, right? All of a sudden, Cat and Microsoft, oh, not Cat, but the CMA and Microsoft are now working together in order to unravel or undo the Cat process so they can reestablish a new framework to get them to where they're going quicker. Like, it seemed to me, and I want you to answer this directly for me there, Mr. Everborn Saga. It seemed to me that at some point, and forgive me, the lawnmowers are passing my house in case you hear that.
It seems.
Oh, great, fantastic. My AI is working well to keep the sound out. It seems to me that judge was a little bit kind of on the side of, come on, guys, you're gonna have to be audited later about all this. Make sure you're getting all your ducks in a row, because I feel like you're bending over backwards a little too much. That seemed to me like where he was coming from. Am I wrong in that, Everborn?
Well, I mean, that was part of it, but
he basically said it
framework.
Almost.
You can't. But well, I mean, this is a court, right?
It seemed like the CMA,
we don't want to do a case anymore.
That's right. It seemed like the CMA went from, we have a case here and we want to fight this case, to, oh, we don't have a case here, but we're a slave to the process. So please help us work this process out so we can give you what you want. But we can't give you what you want just like that, because we're a slave to this process. They became like, it went from, we're here to stop you, Microsoft, to let's work with you to navigate this process to get what you want.
Well, I mean, sure, but again, I think it points down to they needed some legal framework in order to pause this thing, because it's not really a thing that happens. You can't just say we're pausing an appeal. This doesn't happen, right? Once the final decision is made, it's made. That's you appeal it or you don't, and that's it. So anyway, the big drama here was that everyone thought that the deal needed to close by the 18th, right? And now and again, like you said, CMA was bending over backwards. They even were trying to tell Cat, like, we'll get you all this everything you're asking for, because the judge said, I'm going to give you a conditional adjournment. This means we're going to pause these Cat hearings so you can work something out. And he says the goal here is to get this thing over the line. Like, it seems like he knows that they want to close the deal. And he says, I'm going to give you a conditional yes, but you have to get me some things, right? So you have to show me why this is a materially different deal, right? So what is basically happening is, in order for CMA to not say they were wrong, right? Because they don't want to admit that.
Yeah, they can't admit they were wrong.
Right. So Microsoft basically has to restructure the application for approval to close this deal, such that they can consider the old deal abandoned. Right. So if you go back in their database and we go and look at the history of these cases, there was a Microsoft ABK merger. We thought it was anti-competitive. They abandoned that merger.
So they abandoned the deal, and now they're coming back. And they're buying again.
Merger application.
They're buying again, but they don't want Call of Duty. They want Fall of Booty. It's a completely different case. It's completely different.
Well, pause. But
big pause.
The thing is, they had to find some precedent in order to do this. So there was a purchase, a similar situation where a deal was blocked, but the deal and then the same merger came up again. But in that case, there was a 7-year delta, not a 7-hour delta.
7
like
years.
It is here.
So the ground had literally shifted for 7 years. So obviously, coming back to CMA with the same purchase request after 7 years, the logistics on the ground will change. The market will change. So obviously, that's worth a new look. But how do they thread that needle after 7 hours?
Well, right. So, but they're saying, and the judge knew this was about PlayStation, right? But he says that because of the deal. Oh, by the way, PlayStation finally bends the knee. Last Sunday, they signed.
I heard that one too. And real quick, shout out to the man Gerald Mack with a $2 super chat. He says S tier background music. Salute to the GCP. Thank you,
I
sir.
can't even hear the background music, so I'm gonna have to take your word for that.
That's how it was able to work. In order to make this work and not be echoey, I had to make the background music available to them, but not to us. But the fact that it's working and people appreciate it, salute to you, sir. I appreciate that. That's great.
Okay, the cat judge says this is a material change of circumstance.
Yeah.
Right?
How?
Right, because there is no console SLC, so Sony signing that contract should be immaterial to this deal, and yet it is somehow used as evidence that the deal is materially different, because we know the idea here was to protect Sony.
Yeah, it's putting the cart before the horse again. Oh man, this is weird. But of course, it's in Xbox's favor, so yada yada yada. Move
right, and I do want people to understand, Xbox was winning. They just beat the FTC. They were winning everything with Cat. They likely would have won their appeal. So if Microsoft is agreeing to put this on pause, it's because they feel like this is the fastest route to close.
Yep. Now it seems to me. Now you correct me if I'm wrong, Everborn Saga, because you've been paying far more attention to this than I have, especially during the vacation time. It seems to me, with everything you're saying now, they are primed to win. They are primed to make you look foolish while winning. Now they pull all that back, and now they're willing to work with you. It seems to me that the CMA convinced them, look, we need to save face. You don't care if we save face, as long as it gets you to close as quickly as possible. And this was their way to get them to close as quickly as possible. They promised Microsoft that at the end of this, you'll close quickly. Just work with us to get Cat off our butt. Is that the case?
Unless they closed over the CMA or the UK, right?
Which was a threat that was looming.
Well, I want to talk about that a little bit. Right?
Yes, because that's an interesting conversation.
So the thing about closing over the UK, you have a lot of people, usually people from the UK, who say, no way, it's impossible, they won't close over the UK. And I mean, Microsoft literally leaked that that's what they were going to do. That was the impetus for the whole FTC trial. So it is a thing they were considering, unless we're saying that was a lie. But that is what triggered the preliminary injunction hearing, right? So now people are saying, well, let me actually, before I come to the closing over thing, let me just come back to this because I want to finish this part up quickly. So the deadline was Tuesday, the 18th, July 18th. And people thought that they were going to close by then because they had to, and magically they extended the deadline because the CMA says they need until August 29th. And so they extended the deadline to close the deal until April 18th. But in doing so, there are different payouts now. So if the deal closes past August 29th, the breakup fee that Microsoft has to pay goes up to $3.5 billion. If it goes up to September 15th, then it goes to $4 billion. And if it goes into October, you're talking about $4.5 billion. Right?
Yeah, so shrewd, baby.
That is more than they would have to pay for Sega.
Yeah.
Right, just in a breakup fee. So they're pretty
they're pretty confident. Yeah.
Right. So this doesn't really increase the price of the deal, but it does say that if it doesn't work, it gives the Activision shareholders. Now, there's one other thing.
Well, here's a very important thing, real quick. A. Rodimus is saying that that'll be his birthday present because his birthday is October 18th.
I don't think it'll take that long to close.
I don't think so either. But continue.
Right. But there's also a 99-cent dividend being paid to Activision shareholders. And people are saying Microsoft is paying that, but not really, because the share price, right? Or sorry, the deal price is $95 a share. If you multiply 95 times the outstanding share, you will get $75 billion. And you may say, Kay, I thought the deal was being reported at $68.7 billion. That the difference between the $75 billion and the $68.7 billion is how much money Activision had in the bank, right? And that's minus their debt. So they had $9 billion in the bank, but they had $3 billion in debt, which left $6 billion. So $6 billion plus 68.7, you get close to that $75 billion. You see where I'm going with this.
Yep.
Now, The difference is today, though, Activision has over 12 billion in the bank.
Mm.
So what happens with that money? It goes to Microsoft when they purchase it. So, or they could pay it out in dividends to the
Dividends to
shareholders.
the shareholders, yeah.
And so we saw that today. We saw 99 cents.
I hope they pay the dividends to the shareholders, because I'm a shareholder, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go.
Look at you. So, but these are Activision shareholders, not Microsoft shareholders.
I'm an Activision
No,
shareholder.
I'm just making sure. Just making sure we're on the same. So anyway, I say
bought
all
them
that
like
to say
10 years ago. Anyway,
yeah. So
Yeah.
this is gonna cost just under $1 billion to pay out those dividends. Something like $800 million or whatever. So that's that much less money that Microsoft will get back in the bank. But technically, the deal is still cheaper, and the $95 a share price has not changed. So there is that. Now, people are saying they don't want to wait that long. You should show the CMA a lesson. You should close over them. And to that, I would say, why?
No.
This
is not the last time they're buying anything.
Right. But not only that, you close over the CMA if it is deal or no deal.
Yeah.
If you cannot, if you have to walk away from this deal or close over the CMA, that's when you consider.
Yeah.
And by the way,
it's basically what the FTC were doing. They were playing chicken with Microsoft, and that's what led them to court. If you're willing to talk to them, they're willing to talk to you. If the CMA is willing to come to the table, why close over them?
Right. And so in their SEC filing, when they did the new quarterly report, they said that closing and holding ABK separately is an option, right? That is an option that's on the table in the new deal terms, right? It makes no sense. If you want this to be over and done, you do not close over the CMA, because they will be fighting that in court for years, and it will affect their integration, and there's still ifs and maybes about what could happen. You don't want to hear about this. You want to close it clean, so the next time they want to,
you want to do it the right way. So
and I also do want to be clear, right? Not if they did close over, if they did have to pull out of a market, it wouldn't be all of Microsoft. Apple is talking about pulling FaceTime and iMessage out of the UK because of some new privacy rules that they want. They're not going to stop selling iPhones in the UK. They're just pulling out one business. So that is doable. But again, it makes no sense. And I promise you, you don't want that. You're not going to close over a regulator out of spite, because guess what? Then everyone that wanted a preliminary injunction in the future would get it, because they would say you can't be trusted because you'll close over regulators. Right. And so in the future, when you want to buy something, it will be a fight. It would be a messy, nasty, disgusting thing.
But let me argue the side of Everborn Saga against Everborn Saga and say, I hear you and all that is true, but if they were playing chicken, the CMA, against Microsoft, if that's where we are today, and it was who's going to give up, they would have closed over the CMA. They just would have done that. They would have done that. Unfortunately,
100%.
Unfortunately, we don't live in that world, because CMA themselves don't want that purpose. Because remember, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, Everborn Saga, the idea of a superpower and their capabilities is always never to be tested. Because if it's tested and proven to be wrong, you fall down the hill like you're like a stone. And CMA,
to quote Jay-Z, once you're tagged lame, the game is follow the leader.
Exactly. CMA this is the first time they're handling a AAA level deal here. Even when they were part of the EU proper, they handled mid-level, low-level deals. They always left the EU to handle the AAA.
By the way, the deal that they were citing for the
Guinness deal
or whatever,
the Guinness deal.
that was something the EU did, because
not the CMA.
CMA
never
is
dealt with
it. A relatively newly formed too.
That's
like
right.
10 years
and they were 10 years old, and then they broke apart with Brexit. So they're 10 years old. They're the young man on the block, and now they're separate, competing against the people who used to teach them. Right? So they have a chip on their shoulder. They have something to prove, right? I say all this to say, you don't want them to play chicken with one of the biggest, most powerful companies in the world, because chances are they will lose, and that will affect the country negatively. So if you see as a country that you're close to losing, now it's time to turn into face-saving mode and help them get where they need to go while still saving face. That's the reason why they all of a sudden became a slave to the process.
Yes, remember the goal here is to get this thing over the line. But I would argue for people, the whole close over people.
Yep.
If I won't talk to you at all. I don't want to hear anything you have to say. Anything you got to say to me, say it through the judge. I said what I said. I'm standing on my square. This is my ruling. All of a sudden, you win your case with the FTC. And now I'm like, hey, can we talk? I know you said you had some ideas. Let's hear them. The only reason I'm doing that is because I know the train is going to leave the station.
Leave the station without you. That's right. And you know how you know that? Because the cat judge kept saying, oh, them winning the FTC case has nothing to do here. Oh, remember, let's just remind ourselves, them winning the FTC case has nothing to do here.
Here's the thing. Cat didn't say that. CMA said that.
The
cat judge says, I want you to say that on the record, like under oath, that this has nothing to do with
saying that,
even though we all know it has something to do with the FTC. But I just want you to say it so it can't be said later on.
It threads the needle that people weren't even trying to thread, and they do it because you just said that over and over. They said it 3 times during the hearing. That tells me that is definitely a reason in this equation, right? That is definitely a reason in this equation, 100%. And yes, I see you, Victor Alistine, and salute to you for being here. He says that in an internal document by Phil Spencer, they said they could legally close in the U.S. Absolutely, they can legally close in the U.S. But in order to keep things clean, they want to close everywhere. That's what they want.
Right. You want this to be done.
You want it to be done fully and right, because again,
this is not court cases anymore. You don't want
this is not the last time they're going to be coming to buy.
Right. We have to do this again for Sega, and we don't want that to get messed up. So here's the thing.
So yes.
Again, as OBM says in the chat, closing clean provides a roadmap for future acquisitions. This is super important, right? If they close this deal and they close it clean, when they go for another acquisition, they can reference this one, right?
For the next one,
you can say, look what we did with Minecraft, a super popular IP, but you said that was just a single service game. Cool. Now we have Activision, and we kept
look what we've done with Call of Duty.
Look what we've done with Activision, right? So when we say we're going to do something, we're going to do it, and you can trust it. And you can't make a financial case argument, and you also can't say like Street Fighter or Sonic or Final Fantasy is going to move the industry. So you can't make the essential input argument, and you can't make the foreclosure argument.
But ladies and gentlemen, Street Fighter is a pillar of gaming parlance. It literally belongs in the definition when we're speaking about gaming.
Sales. Show me the top 10 sales every year.
Sales are one barometer by the metric of success that is measured. I would purport, Judge, that games such as Grand Theft Auto, games such as Street Fighter, games that have been part of the parlance of gaming since the advent of gaming itself cannot be regulated to one side or another, Judge. You must stop this deal, because if you don't, all of a sudden Microsoft will own Street Fighter. Come on, Judge. I'm sorry. I'm
that didn't work in federal court.
I know.
Right?
Not
gonna work. So my thing is this, right? I'm saying all this to say, I think OBM is right? If you close this and you keep your word on the things you say you're going to do, there's no reason to doubt Microsoft in the future. And it does pave that way. So now, again, if you look at this from the perspective of the CMA is actually bending the knee here because they know what will happen if they don't, that's still them getting closed over. This is just, I'm trying to save face because I know this deal is going down.
Face mode.
So,
absolutely.
So once you look at it from that perspective, when you see these Sarah Cardell interviews and you see these press statements, you know that it's about saving face. So let them say whatever they want. They can sound tough. They can say the order still stands, but the deal's going to close. And once the deal closes, that's what we want. And one thing I do want to say, right? I tweeted out a Reuters article yesterday that says now that the cat judge has now officially issued his ruling or whatever, Microsoft has submitted their plan, or they've submitted at least something to the CMA, and the CMA expects to have their preliminary decision, because they have to do a new phase 1 on this.
Yeah, they have to go back to phase 1
by August 7th. Why is that interesting? Because on July 17th, the day before the deadline for the Activision deal with Microsoft, New Zealand had extended their date again. That was their they've extended 7th? It like 6 times. They've moved it to August 7th. And the CMA's new decision is August 8th. Right? So
are we saying now August is the deadline now? August 7th
right.
is the deadline now?
And I said this last week. New Zealand moved their date to August 8th, and now magically, because I think they coordinate with the CMA says they expect to have it done by the 7th. So that was telegraphing it, and lo and behold, the CMA says
so I
they
have
should have a preliminary decision.
I have one statement.
But by the way, that doesn't mean the deal closes on the 8th, right? They're going to have a preliminary decision, and then they're going to have to release that for public comment. That will be a short period, maybe a week or two. But
so they're going through this whole thing again, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, I suspect and I think False Patents also said this. Give it 2 weeks after the 7th. So the week of the 21st sometime, the 3rd week in August is when I think this thing closes.
So, okay. Here's a statement and then a question. Right? And the statement is a statement, I've been watching and eating a lot of popcorn, watching all the back and forth with you and Foss, seemingly Jon Snow against the masses, right? And I have not, I didn't jump into the fray because I was on vacation. I didn't want to jump into the fray. But I will say, it's an unfortunate place we find ourselves because the end result is the same, and because of that, we'll never know for sure. But I will fight the good fight and most likely stand with you and say, if it came to playing chicken with the CMA, Microsoft would have closed on them and dealt with whatever the hell they had to deal with. But they would have done it because it's more important.
I mean, if this is a game of chicken,
yeah,
isn't it the CMA that stepped out of the way because now they want to hear
exactly. And those who are such in the camp of the CMA is the ruling body.
Blinked.
Yes, CMA blinked because FTC was Microsoft was going full bore with Cat. They literally got Microsoft to double back and help them cancel Cat. To me, that sounds like you've seen a lot of these courtroom dramas, right? We'll give you a plea deal. It doesn't matter. You'll only do community service. You won't have to spend a day in jail. All you have to do is admit you're guilty. And then the person who's in the hot seat goes, look, I just don't want to spend any time in jail. Call it whatever you want. You want me to say I'm guilty? I'll say I'm guilty. The ultimate goal here is no jail time. Okay, that's what's happening here. Microsoft, say whatever you want. You can say we were wrong. You can say you were right. You can say whatever. We're closing. Do whatever you want to get us to close, but we're closing. That's literally where they are right now. To the point where they're like, okay, we'll work with you, CMA. Let's undo the whole CAP process. It doesn't matter. We'll bring you a brand new deal. What's new about it? It doesn't matter to them as long as the end result is closing. So to me, all of that says this is us working with Cat to keep their house of cards, which is their superpower, together because we want to use them again next time. That's what I think.
Yeah,
that's what it looks like.
And there are people that still think the FTC is going to continue their appeal case because this is another thing. The August trial is currently on hold. Yes. Right? Because there are rules in place at the FTC. If you're doing an administrative process and you go for a preliminary injunction, the administrative process is automatically stayed at the is automatically stayed at the request of the merging parties if the FTC loses. And so Microsoft requested they put the stay on it. The FTC lawyers agreed, but people are saying it's not over yet because they haven't announced that they're still going to pursue their appeal. Yeah. But the appeal is moot because the appeal is for a decision to bar the companies from it's just for a PI, right? So
which has already been not granted.
Right. Well, right, it's not granted, but if you appeal that decision and they're already closed, it makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
So once the deal closes, the appeal goes away. Now, I pointed this out on Twitter, and then Tom Warren, who's Tom Warren?
Tom Warren, who is the Tom Warren. Yes, continue.
Yes. Tom Warren of The Verge. He, for some reason, wanted to point out that no, they haven't dropped the appeal yet, so you don't know what they're going to do. And when I pointed out the appeal will be moot if the deal closes, and there is no hearing until September, when presumably the deal would close. He says not true, because there was a case back in 2009 or 2007 with Whole Foods and Wild Oats.
Yep, I remember that.
Where they merged and the preliminary injunction was denied. They closed the deal. The FTC appealed, and then it got sent back to the judge. Stuff. But here's the problem. That was a horizontal merger. This was a vertical merger. Yep. And if you look at the ruling there, the judge, there was a dissenting opinion, but there's 3 people, and 3 people agreed the judge got the market definition wrong. And the difference here is that the judge, while she didn't agree with their market definition, she explained even if she did agree with it, you'd still lose. And the appeals court takes deference to the facts of the case. So the judge, Corley, even gave the FTC the benefit of the doubt and still closed. And remember, the appeal court still has no authority. They still remand it back to the judge. So this would have to go back to Judge Corley. And it's not like one thing. It would have to be multiple things. And you have to balance the equity. So this would take multiple years, because they appealed in 2007 and they didn't go and sell off these things for 2 years later in 2009. An appeal court is not going to do the same for a vertical merger. And that was only them selling off some stores, and the Wild Oats brand is not the same as this deal here. So again, that appeal is pointless and does not have the power to divest the deal. It just means it will go back to Judge Corley, who is very clear that even if she granted them the market definition, they'd still lose. So good luck with that.
Interesting. Okay. Oh,
also,
and hold on. Before we continue, because I don't want to miss it. Iliad Shelmovich. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. I apologize. I did miss a super chat, and I appreciate you for reminding me. He sends in a $15 shekel, and I think that is, if I'm not mistaken, is that Israeli shekels? Yeah, I think that's an Israeli shekel. Thank you so much for checking us out. He says, finally catching you gents live. Have a great weekend, and thank you for the interesting conversation and slander. There you go. The currency is Israeli shekels. See, I looked it up, and he even told me in the super chat anyway. Thank you so much, Iliad. I appreciate you. I'm sorry. Continue, Everboy. You were saying.
Yeah. So the point is, it's a false premise, because we're talking about a vertical merger versus a horizontal merger. Then judge, it would go back to Judge Corley, who already gave them the benefit of the doubt and still ruled against them. And then you have to balance the equities, and you have to say customers that are getting Game Pass and these contracts that will now be legally in effect should somehow not be warranted. And the appeal is only on cloud and subscription services, which they did not do any quantitative analysis on, and that is pointed out. So again, even if they continue with the appeal, it will not be granted, because they didn't do the quantitative research, and Judge Corley already gave them the benefit of the doubt. So again, I believe once the deal is closed, they will drop the appeal case.
So I have one question. And by and large, I won't argue with any of the points you've made here. I agree with you by and large. I think that
balance
this is all
the
just
equities to say people are getting these games in Game Pass,
Yep.
and it's available on more platforms, and more
Yep.
people are playing. We want to stop that so they
Yep.
can go back to paying $70 and we can null and
Yeah.
void all these contracts.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. That, you know, by and large, this thing is a wrap. I have an interesting question for you, and we will adjourn with this question, and we'll bat around for a little bit, right? I know what you're gonna say, Sega and all of that. I get that, right? Here's my question, and this is the question I'm posing to you and to the chat in general, and I want you guys to think about it, and let's talk about that for the last 30
Wait a
minutes
minute
or so
before
now.
you continue.
Okay.
Stratton Shane, he's arguing with somebody in the chat, but I don't know who, so it's hard for me to follow that conversation.
Okay.
I feel like it's an interesting conversation, but I don't know who's talking to who. Can somebody tell me who's talking to who right now so I can pick a side?
There you go. Well, all right. While that's going on, let me ask this question, right? I believe because of how this process played out, there is now an opportunity in Japan. More than there was even before. There would have always been an opportunity. And Stratton Shane is saying he's debating Jared Bishop in the chat.
Okay,
So
I'm
yes,
gonna
there you
scroll up and look at this
Garrett
and see
Bishop,
what you
yeah.
guys are talking about.
Yes. So I believe that there's an opportunity in Japan more
You gotta
than
tag
there
people
have
when
been
you're
before.
arguing in the chat, man. It makes it so much easier.
Makes
for
it
the rest
easier
of
to
us
follow. That's
along.
right. That's right. So right now, I feel like, and I said this on Boom Show, there's a mulligan to be taken in Japan. In order to get this process where we are right now, they all but pointed out, and the Japanese regulatory bodies all but agreed, that PlayStation has a monopolistic hold in the gaming sphere in Japan, right? So much so, and of course trade agreements being a conversation and all of that, so much so that I believe that depending on when and how when they strike, Microsoft can kind of walk in and leave with the crown jewels and no one will say anything. I know you want Sega. I know you do. We've heard it a million times. I'm sure people in the chat feel the same way. But in a world where Microsoft can literally walk in and steal your crown jewels and you got nothing to say about it, do you still think that Sega is the best one? Even bypassing, let's say, your Koei Tecmo. And of course, we're BSing right now. This is all rumor and speculation. Maybe Koei is not even up for sale. It can't be bought. There's a lot there. All right? Koei would probably be close to Bethesda money, if not more. I don't think Koei would be Activision money. I think that'd be a bit too much. I don't know. You can tell me. But do you still think that Sega is the only game in town and they shouldn't look at others? Because I feel like no matter what they look at, as much of a pain point as it would be, and let's be clear here when I'm talking about what they're gonna grab, whatever they grab would stay multi-plat, because that's Japan. It would stay multi-plat. So get that out of your head that somebody's gonna come and take Square, and then all of a sudden nothing comes to PlayStation. No, it would stay multi-plat no matter what they grab. Even Sega would stay multi-plat. Even their documentation says that, right? Even Microsoft's own documentation said back then. Yes, and things can change now because the SLCs have already been adjudicated, and now you see the console SLCs aren't really
that's before you had in the public 98%.
Exactly.
Right?
So with all that said, right, because this has done a lot to change the situation on the ground, right? Before it would have most likely have been multi-plat. Now maybe not. Who knows? Because of what's being said. Before there was an idea of, can they get somebody? Who knows? Now, with trade agreements in play, with already established narratives that they're losing 2% to 98%, all that primes the pump for Microsoft to be able to walk in and go, Koei Tecmo, you're mine. Capcom, you're mine. Whatever they want. So my question to you, Mr. Everborn Saga, convince me that in Japan, Sega is still the best option.
Okay, so you have to go.
Well, okay. Before you even go there, because I know you will, but pay a bit of attention to the fact that I hear you that Sega is the one that came with them. Sega's the one that wants to dance with them, and that's a big but. they have the opportunity to go for the gusto. Is the gusto Sony, Sega? I think they could go bigger. Am I wrong?
Again, you go with the woman that wants you, not the one you want. Right?
Come on. No. But this is my problem, though. What we've established the ground. Yes, you go with the woman that wants you, not the one you want. But in this specific scenario, right? In this specific scenario, it's like reparations. People Japan understands that they've done you dirty long enough to the point where they will give you whatever you want, basically, at this point. You have the potential to get whatever, not what you want, but not what you can get, but even things that normally you couldn't get could potentially be up for grabs here. You don't think so?
Okay. Again, you are talking as though Microsoft can walk in the country, kick the doors open, and say, "I want you. I got to have you. You're mine."
What I'm saying is, money obviously is a big part of the context. Let's take that out of the equation.
Was money a part of the context when Nintendo laughed Microsoft out of their office?
Well, but that was no.
Money's not everything.
Stop. Remember, that was a long time ago. That was not Microsoft proper. That was Xbox. Microsoft with the $70 billion cojones is now sitting at the table. That's never happened before. So don't do that, right? We're talking about the Microsoft of today.
You can't. Money does not solve all your problems.
We're talking about the Microsoft of today, who are committed more than they've ever been, who have more resources. Take the resources out of it. Okay. You now have Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond. Sure.
Somebody that doesn't want to sell.
That is all context that's out of the. Sure. They may not want to be purchased. I'm not saying any of that. All that is under the bridge. We're not talking about that, right? We're talking about a world where they have, just like Sega, just like any of the others, we're all ready to be bought. All of them. None of the contexts which are righteously that matter don't matter here. I'm talking about they can come and take whatever they want. Context be damned. You're still telling me Sega's the best one?
I'm saying Sega's the most realistic one.
So you're saying, right? even in the scenario where they have the opportunity to go for one of the, like, just pick one.
No, but you're making up this fake scenario. If you want me to say go along with your fake scenario, sure.
Yes,
we can have that.
I want the thought experiment, like, because yes, context.
Your thought experiment is faulty, is what I'm saying. It's
not because we don't know.
In your star.
Here's the thing. We don't know that Bandai Namco is or is not up for sale. Let's put that on the side. I think Bandai Namco is probably a more lucrative thought process, but let's put that to the side. We know that Sega is kind of, they say in public no, but we know it's probably yes. That's fine, right? We know for sure that Square is up for purchase. They'll say whatever they want for PlayStation, but they speak the dollars and cents, and in that instance, they are up for grabs, right? Clearly, Capcom is probably not up for grabs, but they could be if the money is right, right? Like, and we could say that about almost any Japanese publisher. They may be doing great right now, but if you put enough up,
but under your scenario, why not go for Sony?
Oh, stop it!
No, I mean,
I'm talking a publisher.
It's just paper.
Oh, now you're being ridiculous. Now you're being ridiculous. I'm saying because that would be a horizontal merger, not a vertical. That's neither here nor there. Right now, they have the money, not an issue, because obviously money is the issue. Obviously, who wants to be purchased is a factor. All that matters, obviously. But we're having a thought experiment.
Likelihood of
you are Mr.
Mr.
Sega, right? And even they have come out, and if we're going to take them at their word, they've said not now, right? Which, yeah, we know that not now means they're not done with ABK
now
yet.
2 weeks ago, so
they're not done with ABK anymore. Yet. Sure, I get it. It's not now 5 seconds after he said it. We already know that, right? I am just saying, in this world where, because yesterday they could have tried to grab Sega. 2 weeks ago, they can try and grab Sega whenever they want. But after this ABK craziness that has happened, there's even more of an opportunity to grab anyone in Japan now, more than ever, because of all the established ground. But again, I say that the window of opportunity is slow but closing. Slow but closing. So
I,
is it Sega or is it someone else?
I
And that's
think
not just for you, because I know
I
you're Mr.
understand your
Sega.
question.
Chat,
I
what do you
understand your
think?
question,
Mhm.
and you're trying to lead the witness, and that's fine. So
No,
let
no, no,
me
no.
answer your
Look,
question
look, look.
under the premise.
If you say
Under
Sega, fine. Just give me the reasons.
Under
for it.
your
That's all.
false premise, let me
False.
answer the question, please,
There
sir.
he goes.
Okay. I think a large part of this is going to be how effective the integration is, and
I'm gonna
how
leave the
effective
man Fuzzy Belvedere's statement right there. He'll just be there. Go ahead.
The culture of the two companies are. What is their working relationship like? Right? And when we look at that, what my concern, because I do think Square, if they have like one more like high profile flop, maybe they will have to start considering things like this. But they say Final Fantasy is doing well, which is a whole other conversation. But
they're talking out of both sides of their mouth. They first said the sales were scary, and then they said it was good when you take into consideration the install base. But I mean,
what are they supposed to say? You can't say your marquee franchise did bad, because that could be a mark on the entire franchise.
True.
Right? Once you start having those kind of talks around it, people will start thinking the franchise is dead.
Once you open that door, the Stankonia gets on there.
You never want to say that, even if that's
that's true.
The case. So, but which is fine, right? But the other piece of it is how well would Square integrate, meaning communications between the companies, meaning will they get on board? Can you get your marketing in order? Can you become a well-working machine, or will you just be something?
As people have said, and I really hate this, but I have to use this because it works. You don't want a bunch of Pete Hines. Is that what you're saying?
Oof.
Yeah, people said that.
I'm saying you don't want another Bungie, is what you don't want.
Sure. Okay.
Right?
The Pete Hines thing,
no shade
I think that's messed up, but people keep saying
you don't want a Bungie, and that's not to disparage Bungie, but it is to say they are mavericks and they don't like to be told what to do, and you want somebody who's going to be on the same page and believe in the vision. Of all the publishers you mentioned, who believes in the Xbox vision the most? Be realistic with yourself now, since you asked me that question.
Honestly, like, to be honest with you, based on historical evidence of who has been working with them and this and that, Sega, I get you, no worries, because they have that strategic partnership. I get you on that. But I also say Bandai Namco, because Bandai Namco has been really, really, really like enjoying the Game Pass vision. They put their AAA banger in Game Pass. They have been, like, when people are talking about the narrative of how bad it is, they are right there talking about how, what is it, the Nexus, I forget the name of the game. I played the heck out of it too. I really enjoyed that game. Like, how well it did in Game Pass and how much they enjoyed their relationship with Microsoft. And I kind of think Bandai Namco might be better for Game Pass than Sega is. Just a thought. Like, tell me I'm wrong. I agree with the chat. Scarlet Nexus, absolutely. I agree with the chat that, something like Capcom might not be realistic. Who knows? There's a lot there. And let's be absolutely clear. Any of them that they choose would be great. But I kind of think Bandai Namco also fulfills the requirements that you just described. And they kind of got their stuff together already.
Well, again, you have to consider, like, are they just, and I mean, the same consideration would be made for Sega. So it really feels like you're talking about the Namco piece of it, right?
Yeah, exactly like the Sega's Hammy.
Talking about,
exactly. Yes,
right?
Yes.
So because I don't think they want the anime business and all that stuff.
Although I will say one on your side, and who in here said this? Somebody in here said this, and salute to you. I forget, the chat is going rather quickly for me. I will say Sega wins when we're talking. Mobile, even though they lose when we're talking mobile compared to Square, because Square has a bigger footprint. But Sega does have a bigger footprint than Bandai Namco does. So that may be why you choose them ahead of Bandai.
But another big part of this is when we talk about integration, right? Sega it's not just the technology deal. It's not just the partnership for Super Game. They already work with Sega, and Sega helps them develop the Age of Empires series, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
they're
they
very familiar with the tech stack. They understand how to create content that moves on Game Pass. There's a mutual respect there, because you have to have that. You can't just, this is what I'm saying. Money is in Japan. Money's
Oh yeah,
not
you
just
don't just walk in.
So
you don't just walk in and buy somebody. Yes,
and that's why I think even though Square may become available, if they keep talking like they're losing money, which I don't know that they really are, but whatever. I think the better working relationship, I think the better nostalgic IP. Square does have stuff, so I'm not, they like Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest are huge in terms of nostalgia, but like Sonic as an IP, now they will have Rovio, a whole new major mobile publisher. And then the PC integrations, they're already using your tech stack. They already believe in your vision. That is something you could get and hit the ground running way faster than any of the other ones. And going in, Bandai Namco is the biggest video game publisher in Japan.
Yeah.
So it may not be like big to us because it's 18 billion, but 18 billion is huge. That's almost the size.
But this is my point, right? This is my point.
But
why would you go for Sega when you could go for the
you don't know
Take-Two
that they could go
of
for
Japan?
that. Like, is Japan gonna allow you to just come in there and buy their biggest publisher?
See, now you're adding context. I'm saying we're not having a context-based conversation.
Why are you leaving out all the specific important context?
Because a lot of that context.
I'm telling you why. You're like, nah, don't worry about that.
Because a lot of that context just works in favor of buying Sega and nothing else. So
yes, because you're trying to lead the witness. You're trying to get me to say some answer that's not gonna make sense, so you can hold it against me later.
No.
I knew what you were trying to do since the beginning. I'm familiar with your game.
All I'm trying to do is point out
me.
All I'm trying to do is just point out the fact that Sega's not the best publisher in Japan. Right, and people have also pointed out for Capcom, for those who are proponents of Capcom is a bit too Western, right? They are an Eastern developer, an Eastern publisher who likes to make a bunch of Western stuff. So if you get them, it's kind of like the snake eating its own tail. It doesn't give you what you want. So you want somebody that really gives you a lot of what the East has to offer, and that's not really Capcom. That's the Capcom is the East's rendition of the West. That's what Capcom is, right?
Well, it doesn't have to be, right? Like Mega Man and all these other things that they have.
What's been successful for them now? We're talking about ABK. ABK right now is just COD. What's been successful for them in the past has been Guitar Hero, all this stuff, all that great stuff in the past. But today, ABK is COD, right? Today, Capcom is RE. Capcom is all the West-focused stuff. Even though you're absolutely right, there's so much great Capcom lineage that they could lean on that Microsoft could probably leverage.
Fuzzy Belvedere
Same thing
has a great chat.
Okay, let's see what the man Fuzzy Belvedere has to say. Let me see here. He says, Sega is the sweetheart you went to school with. Capcom is the woman at your job that you go to lunch with and go out for drinks after hours. Square is the dive bar stripper. Oh my God, oh man, Jesus. What are we doing? Okay. Wow. That's very good.
Now listen. If you said, okay, give me the petty Everborn answer,
sure,
I would say take the all the money you make from PlayStation and COD from this 10-year deal that you got, put it in a separate bank account, and use literally dollars for donuts, Sony's money to buy Square. If you want some other answer than Sega, then that's my answer. But realistically, I think what would have the best chance for success, what would have the best chance for getting approved, what would have the best chance for really going back, because there's a certain level, like Nintendo's able to do what it does, one, because they make great games, but they also bring you back to your childhood no matter how old you are.
Sure.
And this is an opportunity here. If you get Sega.
So you say Bandai Namco purchased but stays multiplat, and that wouldn't fly? And you'd use that
their largest publisher. That's not going to.
But it would stay multiplat. It would stay multiplat.
Doesn't matter.
That wouldn't fly.
Does not matter. Doesn't matter. That's their biggest publisher. It would be very difficult.
Okay.
Again, I just
See,
think,
and that's their
and
biggest
I
publisher
don't
based
think
on what?
Bandai.
Based on
I
Sony or
don't
based on
think
just Japan?
I no, just Japan in general. They're not. You have to understand. This is like going
And
to
this is just
Japan.
me thought experiments
I
here.
understand. I
I
understand.
have no
Going
background
to
on it at all. I'm
you
just
have to
talking.
understand.
Mhm.
These publishers may seem small, but
But where they are, they
buying
are monsters. Yeah, they are monsters.
exactly
Yeah, absolutely.
right, and they really contribute to that economy.
Yeah,
So
yeah, they are monsters.
again,
No doubt, no
it,
doubt.
it would be at the level in Japan, and that would be a hardest place to get this approved of buying any ABK, right? And there's it would be difficult. I'm not saying impossible, but again, to give, like, even Bandai Namco is not going to give you the nostalgia factor, right? Yes, they have Dragon Ball. Yes, they do a lot of games for these anime, like they do a lot of anime licensed IPs.
They make Smash Brothers. Imagine telling them, see what you did there for Smash Brothers that you've been doing all this time? Do that with Xbox IP.
No,
they
I totally
make
get
Smash
that, but they can do that today. They don't have to buy them to do that.
True.
I'm just saying
that is true. That is true.
There are so many people, so many of us that grew up with Sega. If you say that they are a first party,
this is where you're talking from. And
no.
Whether it makes business sense or not, who knows?
No,
but that's where you're talking
about
from.
the business sense of it, right? I'm talking about the business sense. Again, you have to understand, this is the idea of this purchase is to give Xbox something that it does not have, that it needs. It needs a presence in Japan, right? And it needs, again, that universal nostalgia IP that brings you back to childhood. And so them, again, being back, even if it's only in idea alone, because none of the people that used to work at Sega are still there, but the idea that Sega is now a first party somewhere again, and they're the ones competing against Sony and Nintendo.
It would push a lot.
It really does give you a lot in terms of mind share and zeitgeist.
Yeah, it would push a lot.
So it'll push
100%.
you in the Eastern market. It gives you the mind share and zeitgeist, and they're very well integrated already. I'm telling you, it is the one. It makes business sense.
It
from
would get
PC
all
to
these
mobile to
PlayStation,
nostalgia.
all these Sega stands would be like, oh, like you would get like it would come with its kind of like how NetherRealm comes with Mortal Kombat wherever it goes. Wherever Sega goes, you'd come with Everborn Sega level, like Sega stands with it. Cog would be there holding the sign.
The world would
everybody
and
be
by
there.
the way, you know what the beauty of this is? I even think the PlayStation guys wouldn't even be mad at this. Not that we care what they think, right? No. In terms of, it makes so much sense. Nobody could say it wasn't organic. Nobody.
Oh God! But you really purport to like adjudicate and think and analyze the people who accuse the organic, like whatever. That's a BS argument.
That would be too stupid for even them, right? But what I'm saying is, I think it would be met with universal praise.
Okay.
There would be people crying about Atlas and
of course there would be. The Persona would be gone. Like, what were you doing?
Yeah. People would be crying about that, but by and large, I think people would be supportive of it, and it would be a big deal. And I think it would be good for gaming as a whole.
Victor Allenstein with a $2 super chat saying Sega might be the only option. Good topic, guys. Thank you so much. We appreciate you being here. We appreciate you dealing with the thought experiment, because jokes aside, I agree that Sega is probably the only option here, but I want to keep the options open. I want to talk about all the potentials, and you know, they're clearly, based on all the information we hear, they're looking at all of them. So why limit ourselves, and let's kind of keep the options open and talk about it. Convince me. And I think I'm about 75% there after this conversation. Victor, hold on. Enigmatic Dreams, $2 super chat. He says, I need Capcom more. Jill Valentine, please. See? So not everybody agrees with you.
The only wrinkle in this is Sega is doing phenomenally well right now, better than they have in the last decade or more. And, you know, when they say not now is because, like, that's like, let us cook.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think it is entirely plausible that Square could end up on hard times before Sega does.
Oh, I know that's
that scenario,
for sure the case. Yeah.
that changes things in terms of, because again, if Sega's not ready when Microsoft is ready, they would go after who is. And realistically, I want to ask the chat this: who thinks of the two, Square or Sega, who do you think would be ready first for a deal like this?
Oh, I think monetarily, Square is
meaning
there
who
day
would
one.
be on their knees first?
Square day one. They've been on their knees for a month, 2 months now, 3 months now. Every time you hear them talk, they're talking about how they did not meet the requirements. Like, Sega's on the up. They're fine. They're good. You want them, but they don't need to be bought right now. Square is the one that's kind of on the downturn.
How does Square? How will Square do with PC? Because how good is Square with their PC stuff?
Well, but you know what? That's not a problem that Microsoft has to worry about. The minute that they buy Square, they don't need Nixus, right? Microsoft has been good on PC for a long time. Sony needs Nixus. Microsoft has never needed anybody to port for them because they're PC day one. They're PC fine, so they could fix that for Square if that was the problem, right? I don't think that's not necessarily a factor in the equation because they have the intelligence and the skill set already there on the PC side of the house, so that should be fine. Right?
Yeah, because I'm just saying the thing with you want somebody who's big in mobile. That Square does give you that, right?
Yeah,
you
Square
want someone who will further your ambitions in the East. Square does give you that, but you also want someone who is versed in PC development because again, remember. And I don't think that
even though Square kind of does, because even though Luminous fell flat on its face, right, and Final Fantasy is an MMO which is only on PC, right? The big Final Fantasy MMO that rivals WoW is only on PC, and Luminous Productions, although what's his name?
Only on PC? What game?
No, Final Fantasy MMO, Final Fantasy 14.
I thought that's on PlayStation.
No. There's a Final Fantasy MMO that you pay for monthly.
That's 14.
Is it the new one or the old one? There's an older one that's been out for a long time now. Oh yeah, it is on PlayStation 2. Yeah, you're right. It is on PlayStation 2. You're right. But it's more of its audience is on PC than on PlayStation. That is true. More of its audience. It's a bigger audience on PlayStation, and you know that because it rivals WoW on PC. Which for a while there, nothing rivaled WoW on PC except for this, right? And,
by the way,
go ahead, finish.
I think that document was not leaked by mistake, because they could have requested it be redacted. I think that these priming the pump to see who's interested, right? Because that'll get a conversation started.
What was that last Final Fantasy, that last Square game that fell flat on its face that people hated? What's the name of that game again? I forget. With a bunch of racist tropes, a lot of black tropes in it. Square made it just recently. I'm sure the chat will tell me. It was a PlayStation 5 exclusive, but on PC, it was the very first game to have direct storage, which is an Xbox exclusive title until they brought it to PC. Forspoken. Thank you very much. So, on PC, as far as technology is concerned, they are working with Microsoft. It didn't work out because Forspoken was ridiculous. And again, to this very day, I still have not gotten my expose because Forspoken has Xbox achievements day one. You can play that day one when it was a PlayStation exclusive. You could play that, get direct storage access, and also get Xbox achievements. Now, of course,
have you tried that on the ROG Ally yet?
I refuse to buy Forspoken proper. I'm waiting for it to hit huge discount. I'm not buying it for even $30.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, when it comes on deep discount, I will play that. But my point is, we're speaking to the fact that Sega works with them technology-wise. They were planning, in a world where Forspoken was good. They were planning on using Forspoken as their first ever direct storage game on Windows.
Jared Bishop, why would you think that Sega would cost $10 billion? He says take that $10 billion you'd spend on Sega, give 5 to Todd Howard and Arcane to expand, use 4 to start up internal support studios called Finish the Line, devote he's talking about this organic growth. Let me tell you something. Jared Bishop.
Oh no.
Okay. You I can tell what other shows you listen to, sir, and we love to have these
Would you cut that out? Don't do that.
The thing is this, right? They are already expanding Arcane. Arcane
Yeah,
is already
they're
hiring
already
and
working on
working on their
another
next
studio.
game.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Every studio that Microsoft has purchased has opened new offices and built new motion capture studios and is creating new
And
teams and is working on multiple
he
projects.
says his $10 billion comes from the 5 to 6 billion market cap for Sega currently. They have to make a profit plus legal fees, aka 10 billion.
It would come nowhere near 10 billion. But again, and they also
But even if
wouldn't
it
be
did,
buying,
like, who cares?
but it wouldn't.
Like,
But it wouldn't, right? I need you to understand that it would.
yeah, and actually, that is a good point. Salute to
You're
you,
talking
Hargeek.
about
we've done that. Well, hold on.
30%
Here's where Hargeek gets it, right? And we've talked about this in the past. When you look at Sega's market cap right now, you're looking at Sega Sammy's market cap, which includes all the hotels and the pachinko machines and all the other things they're into. Because Sega Sammy is combined. If you're buying Sega, right? If Microsoft is buying Sega, they would never be buying Sega Sammy. They'd just be buying Sega. So how much is the gaming part of Sega? We don't know that because the Sammy part has been keeping the Sega part for a while.
We know that in 2021, Microsoft valued it at $2 billion.
There you go.
Now the stock has risen, but the stock is very high right now on news that Microsoft was considering buying them. The stock popped to the highest level since 2007. So again,
and you also must realize when the stock pops like that, yes, it pops because of news, but when you're digging into the technical, actual economic details of why the company's worth the way it is, since they have so many different diversifications, you can't just say, well, the stock popped, so that's for gaming. You don't know what they did in their other parts of the business. Yes, it's true that the stock popped because of Microsoft's purchase, but the devil in the details that where the money will actually get split when all of this, when the logistics happen, when they're splitting Sega Sammy, what part goes to Sega and what part goes to Sammy? That's still unclear because clearly Sammy is keeping Sega afloat. So that means a lot of its value will be in Sammy. Right?
Well, to be fair, the revenue is pretty evenly split between the parks and stuff and gambling and gaming.
So does that mean that if they were to split it, like let's have that thought experiment that they're buying Sega from Sammy, it would be 50% of its value currently? Roughly?
I'm not saying it'll be 50% of the value. I'm saying it's 50% of the revenue right now.
Oh, it's 50% of the revenue. Okay.
So whatever they pay for it. My point is, it wouldn't be near 10
It wouldn't be
billion.
the full amount of the entire company, of course.
Anyway, but that's besides the point. I want to get back to the other point. We can quibble about whatever the number is. The number will be what it will be based on the time if this thing ever
when they decide to purchase it. Yes.
But when we talk about this this sort of organic growth fallacy, right? Remember where this is coming from. They're telling you, do it like Sony. But what they don't tell you is that every one of your favorite games from Sony came from a studio they acquired. Naughty Dog, acquired studio. Guerrilla Games, acquired studio. Insomniac, acquired studio. Right? And then they're going to tell you, it's not this, and this is not for you, Jared, by the way. This is just me
a general
venting at less intelligent arguments.
You get the last word here. Vent your way, and then we're done with the show. Go ahead.
All right. So the point is, people pretend as though Microsoft isn't forming new teams and isn't expanding and isn't broadening the scope of what these smaller studios develop. Right? All those things are happening in parallel. Right? It doesn't have to be an either or, it can be a both and. And if you look at the size that Ninja Theory has expanded, if you look at the technology they're using, if you look at the new offices they've opened, right? We can look at all these things and all that is happening. That organic growth that we all want is happening right in front of us, but we ignore it because someone on the Sony side gave that away as a talking point while they purchased 6 studios right under your nose in the last 11 months. Right? So people, again,
but they did that with funny money, so it doesn't matter. It's not as
of course it doesn't count. Like, do we want to talk about this? Another thing that came up, because again, we talk about, I don't like the idea of consolidation, and I don't like the idea of this or that, right?
And to give Jared Bishop a voice in this conversation, he says he didn't mention Sony. They buy just as many studios. Everyone grows organically. The problem is the climate right now doesn't favor purchases and acquisitions. Microsoft painted a target on them, which I kind of agree with him on that.
Okay, explain that.
What I mean by they painted what.
And I do want to clarify, Jared. I am making an argument to the organic growth
to the generic.
Fallacy.
I get it.
This is not really about you.
But his point
is bigger than the both of us now, Jared.
His point about they painted a target on the back is exactly what I'm telling you, right? During the time of big business and FTC and regulators, they were letting everything get away with. They were letting everyone get away with it. Big business was reigning supreme, and because of that, since the regimes have changed in all these various regulatory bodies, right? Whoever was the next one to make a big purchase would literally have a target on their back, and that's what he's describing. Microsoft literally painted a target on its own back by being the very next acquisition after a bunch of those other things were let slide, right? The pendulum has swung really hard in the opposite direction, and Microsoft's the first one to feel it, is basically what he's talking about.
Okay.
You know, I agree with that point. I do.
This comes up when we say I'd like Microsoft to do this instead of that.
Yeah.
That is just shorthand for saying I want more organic growth, right? Or that's the way that people read it.
Well, I think you lay with the dogs too long and catch the fleas. He may be making a generic earnest point, but because you hear that point a lot from the dogs,
okay, so
you assume the same thing.
Let's hear what everybody else has to say. I only want level-headed people to respond.
Only level-headed people.
Somebody says,
uh-huh.
Yeah, which means you can't respond, Asante.
Oh, so, stop it! You're ridiculous.
So if I say to you, instead of Microsoft buying Sega, I want them to give that money to ZeniMax so that they can expand. What is that a way of saying?
No, I hear you. Don't get me
2
wrong.
2 + 2 is 4.
I get it, but 2 + 2 in that world equaled many things. Until you heard 4 by the same type of people over and over and over and over and over again. So now anytime anybody says something to that nature, you immediately go to 4. I've heard Paris Lilly talk about the potential problems of over purchasing in this environment and like focusing more on growth rather than acquisition if they go too far. I've heard people that I would never purport to say those, I hate to say it, those hooved lines speak similarly in that vein, right? Whether they're right or they're wrong, that's neither here nor there. But I've heard people that I don't think use pony talking points, and forgive me for going there, right? Saying this as well. So because of that, I refuse to let that line be only ponies say that. If somebody says that, then they automatically must be using those talking points. I've heard people who are not like that at all speak that way as well. So that's why I refuse to paint them all with that brush. Because I've heard people who don't speak like that,
but this
also voice certain concerns in that case.
This isn't about painting anyone with the brush. This is
about, for example, I've heard Paris Lilly, for example, and I don't mean to call you out, Paris, if you're still watching, but I appreciate his takes on things. I've heard him say, look, if they come and they buy another publisher of even Take-Two size, that'd be a bit too much, because now see, people, and they may use the talking points that sound like, organic growth, but they're basically speaking about, hey, if you keep doing this, right, it paints that picture, whether the picture's real or not, it paints the picture, and we can't have that. So maybe after this, go for more smaller strategic purchases. That can be said without it automatically saying, well, be organic like PlayStation. They're not all saying that. It may sound that way, but they're not all saying, at least in my experience, I haven't found that everyone that says that they're against consolidation are automatically saying that because of PlayStation. I don't think that's
okay. So this is what I'm talking about, right?
Okay.
When we say I would rather Xbox launch 5 to 6 games a year that are 9 out of 10 than 6 to 7 games that are 7 out of 10, because that's not my argument. That's not my argument. Okay, but that's the person you're apologizing for, that's their argument.
No,
right?
I am saying that, and I'm not apologizing for him. I'm saying that there are others in this environment who can say that,
Okay,
and that
but
doesn't
I'm talking
automatically
about
equate that.
I'm talking about the illustrious people in our wonderful chat.
Okay,
And
okay,
we love
sure,
you and we love these debates. So
sure,
this is not
sure.
about that. We are
Yeah.
adjudicating the ideas here. We are not
Sure.
attacking people. But what I
Yeah.
am saying is uh history and facts don't back up this claim. That is another talking point where we say 7 out of 10 games because
See,
again,
I think OBM's point here is apt, 100% apt. And real quick, and I'll let you make your point. He says organic growth started from a disingenuous place and accepted by people who don't understand economics or capitalism. And because he's right, and that's where it started, right? Even when people make genuine, again, I'm not saying I agree with them, but I can see them making an argument and we can talk about it, right? Because it started there, everyone assumes that that's where you're coming from when you have the similar statement, and it's not always the case.
But what about when you look at follow-up statements that corroborate that? But anyway,
Oh, sure,
the point is
that's
this.
different. That's different. That's different. That's different.
The point is this, right? If we look at what they have been releasing, like we can look at Redfall, but Redfall is a very specific situation.
Sure, context.
Right, but if we look at the totality of what they've been releasing, they have been
very good.
80s and 90s from their first party, right?
Yep, but most people don't see that.
It is false to say that they cannot produce those quality of games. So Redfall is Redfall, and they fell on their sword and they took responsibility for that. But let's not pretend they are releasing 7 out of 10 games when they do release a game, because that's just not true.
So question, before Redfall, and we're gonna get to the end of this episode because I want to kill it soon right now anyway, but before Redfall, what was the last really big stinker from Xbox? I don't remember.
Okay, so
something that people thought would be great, but then it came out and it went, right? I'm not talking about. I'm not talking Pentiment or anything like that.
Minecraft Dungeons was a 77, but again, I don't think people were expecting
Minecraft
more
Dungeons
than that.
Minecraft Dungeons.
No, sorry, not Minecraft
millions,
Dungeons, not Minecraft Dungeons. Minecraft Legends.
Yes, Legends has hit millions of players that are still playing it today. They may not be hitting us, but they're definitely serving a certain demographic, and it's successful by that measure.
Right.
Same thing with Sea of Thieves. So what has hit the barometer that's like Redfall, where we all wanted to love it, everyone came at it and realized that it was crap? Any other thing besides Redfall? I think that's the only one of its kind. Am I wrong?
No, I think you're right, and we can just go back and look at how these things were received, and they've all been pretty good. Again, there may not have been. I mean, some of them were at the production quality of Sony stuff, but they've released different genres of games, and when they do, they are critically and audience praised and recognized. So my point is, they are growing the teams, they are doing that, and so if we talk about a Sega acquisition or something like that,
look at Playground Games. You know, they're definitely doing that.
Right. Yeah. Again, expanding, working on different tracks, building things like that. So again, my
Playground Games is the Guerrilla Games of Xbox.
My whole point here is I think we ignore the fact that they are growing these teams and basically creating studios within studios with these other teams that work on completely different IPs and genres than the studios are known for. And so can we acknowledge that before we talk about we want them to invest it in these teams, because they are doing that. And even if you look at their layoffs, they have by and large not affected these acquired studios. A lot of them are, some of them are, but they're very small numbers in comparison to the other layoffs. So they're hiring more in those areas. You can go look at the jobs they're offering right now. They're growing the teams.
But I guess let me push back. Let me push back on one thing. Can you at least admit that it is up to Microsoft to convince your Jarrett, your arguments, your Jarrett Bishops of the world, that they are actually succeeding? Like, is it Jared Bishop and the people, and not to call you out, Jared, I'm just using it as a talking point. Is it?
By the way, Jared, you are one second. You are totally welcome to come
Yeah,
on the show because these are
absolutely.
conversations, and I think these are the fun parts of why we do this anyway.
Well,
So it's
I
not
love
about
having the debate. Yeah, it's not about whatever. It's
we
about
don't want
talking
an
about the
audience
thing.
full
Yeah.
of sycophants that agree with everything we say. This is the
Yeah.
point, right?
So, but I guess my question is, like, you're saying, hey, you know, look around. They are doing that. They have done a lot of that, right? Which, by and large, I agree with you on. But maybe Jared is not in the ecosystem like you are, or people like him or PlayStation first gamers may or may not be in there, right?
We don't know that he's a PlayStation first.
We don't know that. Yeah, we don't. He could very well be.
Don't put that evil on him, Ricky Bobby.
Stop it. He's not that evil. PlayStation's a good place to play. Stop being ridiculous. Anyway, I guess my question
Except on the Q Lite,
which you're not sure of. I guess my question is.
Oh, I'm sure.
My question is.
And so are you.
Stop.
You just don't want to admit it.
My question is, isn't it Microsoft's marketing? Isn't it that Microsoft should be like doing more to show that they've turned that narrative around? Because if people aren't seeing it, unless they're being disingenuous, and we're not saying Jared is, but if people aren't seeing it, then that means that they have not gotten their message correctly calibrated to the mountaintop, right? It should be on Microsoft to not only to change the narrative, but to show you, consumer, that they've changed the narrative enough to where you want to join them. Am I wrong?
I don't think you can show anything to Sandra Bullock in Bird Box.
Yeah, but then that's Sandra Bullock's problem because she's the one going la 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 la. She's doing that. Like,
exactly. Right? Now you're getting it, Mr. K.S.
No, but so you're telling me that they are perfect now. It's just some people are closing their ears and
no. Nobody's perfect. They got a lot of crap to do.
Okay, fine. You're telling me they are where they should be now. It's just people aren't paying attention.
I'm not even saying they are where they should be. I'm saying if you want to make the claim that they're not investing enough into their internal studios and they need to focus on quality, I'm saying that's already happening.
Sure. Okay. And on that, I think you and I can agree. We can end it there. I think that they are doing what you want them to do. And I didn't get a chance.
Well, what I want them to do is buy Sega, and I don't care about this acquisition or consolidation talk.
We didn't get to do this.
18 months. They need to buy Sega. They can stop after that, but don't you mess this up for me, Jared Bishop, or anybody else that's complaining about consolidation. They're gonna get Sega, and then y'all can have whatever y'all want. That's it. That's my line. I'm standing on it. And that's why we talked about this for a half hour. Because you're trying to mess up the universe energy of Sega coming home.
So he's gotten his bars off. Let me get mine. Because I didn't get a chance to do this when the show when it actually happened live and direct. We were on vacation, right? So I will come here and with this we will end the show. I have been critical. And I have not been giving the man the credit and the respect he deserves. So folks in the chat, I know we don't have emojis. We don't have the special emojis. We will, because we're still working on those. But I want, for the purposes, and let it not be known that Kay Asante is not a Lannister. I pay my debts. When I'm wrong,
understand how
hold on. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Hold on.
Pixel's chat? Did you see Pixel's chat? How dare you, sir?
Because I was wrong. I'm here to mea culpa. I'm here to admit it. And I want y'all to put peaches in the chat. Put your peaches emoji in the chat right now, because I was here with the booty slander. I have been on the booty slander for some time. And now with all the air that has come out, right? I didn't get a chance to do that on the show when it happened. But now we all know we're going to end the chat. We're going to end the show. We know that Mr. Everborn Saga is here for his Sega. I am here for Peaches. Peaches is the man. We stand with Peaches. We will move forward with Peaches. Let us not have any more Peaches slander, because I used to be the first one to call the booty to the carpet, and now I will say salute to Peaches. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a wonderful week. It has been a wonderful week of absolute hilarious, salty slander on them Twitter streets. If you're not on there, you should be. And I know we can talk about all the other various places we could go. But for now, Twitter is still the place to be. You can find me, Mr. TKO Asante, on Twitter, on Xbox, on PlayStation, all the places you want to find me. Mr. Everborn Saga, where can folks find you? What's going on with the Everborn Saga, sir?
You can find me at Everborn Saga everywhere. Careful, make sure your Twitter bill is paid if you want to DM me, because they're nickel and diming everybody these days. Also on Threads, all of that stuff, and we are just trying to finish out Ariel's Adventure Chapter 2.
I got some Blue Sky codes if anybody wants them.
Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. Stop trying to make fetch happen. Listen, I still see again, Pixel. I disagree with you. We can have that conversation later. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what I said. It don't matter what I said because I stand by it. I just don't know what it was. But whatever I said, I was right. And you know that I was right.
So, ladies and gentlemen, episode 100 is next week. If you want Pixel and Everborn to battle like Smash Brothers style, I'll bring the popcorn. Let's go.
Yeah,
put
Pixel,
it in the DMs.
I want the smoke. You coming on a 100 episode.
Oh, Jesus.
Mark it on your calendar next week. There you go.
Yep.
And we can have it out.
Yeah, it'll be virtual debate. They'll be playing. Well, I don't know. While they debate, they'll be playing Street Fighter or something like on the screen.
I'm gonna have to give Pixel the Jared Bishop treatment.
Anyway, so for Mr. Everborn Saga, you haven't spoken to us. I know you're doing things, that something new with the books coming out. What's the latest and greatest, sir? Before we go.
Okay, so the Kickstarter. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna put the sign up page out soon.
Okay.
And you're gonna see me go on a wild podcast tour when I do that.
Nice.
But that will be later towards this year. We are still trying to work things out with Read Pop so we can hopefully get into Comic-Con New York this year. But we're trying to launch the book to coincide with Comic-Con New York, or New York Comic-Con, I should say. So we'll see whether we're there or not. That's when the book is going to come out. And we're still working on the game. We're doing hand-drawn animation now instead of using like a bone tool. So this is pause.
Beautiful.
But I've been sharing some of that, so that's happening. And but Everborn Saga everywhere. You know where to find me. I didn't say this. I'm still trying to finish Final Fantasy right now, and I'm playing Diablo across the Xbox and what you call it. And I got to get back to Zelda. But you know where to find me in these streets. Well, not in the streets. You don't want to do that. That would be dangerous for everybody involved. But in the Twitter streets, you know where to find me, and on YouTube. And 100 episodes. Look at that,
brother.
Been putting up with us.
It's crazy. Long. It's crazy. Absolutely. So, as we hear it, Mr. Everborn Saga is watching Final Fantasy and playing Diablo. I just finished Fist, and now I'm playing Tome. Pause.
I don't know why you didn't give a pause on the Fist, but the thing is this: the other thing, if they do get Sega, remember. They report to Matt Booty, and Matt Booty don't like to share his toys. So think about that.
On that note, ladies and gentlemen, have a good weekend. I'm sure there are lots of other great podcasts for you to check out, and I will leave it with
this
one
is
word.
The best, like Idiomatic Dream said.
Absolutely. Peaches, have a good weekend.
Nice to be in orbit.